and welcome. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday and welcome to the VML. It's finals time. Woohoo! We are crowning a champion tonight. Somebody is going to the next PT and they're going to do it right here on this stream. I'm Haiyue. I'm here with Beky and Nicole. It's a three-way today, as it were.
Yes, we're just gonna move past that. We're just gonna move past it. It's okay.
Beky, Nicole, how are you doing on this fine evening?
I mean, I'm ready to crown a champion. I don't know about y'all, but I mean, it's been a while. It's been a few months, a few weeks. I'm ready.
A hot minute.
I am very ready. We're all decked out in our sweet VML
swag. If you wanna check out some VML swag, mtgproshop.com/VML.
I was not high enough the first time, so I had to...
All right, casters in shambles. It's time to get ready for the VML. But before we get into it, we of course have to thank our awesome sponsors. The VML is sponsored by Wizards of the Coast, and without them, this tournament series would not be possible. So thank you so much to them for giving us both the invites and the support needed that we can run this tournament season after season. And of course, thank you so much to Nerd Rage Gaming Championship Series. They are our WPN store partner, and we work super closely with them to deliver the VML, and they lend us their awesome head judge Max every season.
And can I do a little plug too?
Yeah, of course.
If you play Alchemy and you're interested in another chance at being sent to the next quote unquote PT, Nerd Rage is having an Alchemy tournament tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Where first place is getting one of those invites. So if you are playing Alchemy and you are interested in it, check out Nerd Rage Championship Series. Get a part of that. They should be having a few more of those too. I won't say too much, but you know, there are some extra ways that you can get involved in qualifying online through Nerd Rage Championship Series.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's 8 a.m. Pacific tomorrow. So get registered now if you're planning to wake up for that one. All right, so let's find out what we're all here for. We are here to celebrate the top 8 contenders, and they are playing for the grand prizes, $3,500 prize pool. We've already, everyone here has already made the money. We're paying out to top 16. And but of course, the real prize that everyone's out here for, that invite to the Future Said Championship.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's what we've all been chasing for so long. We all know it, we've all seen it, and it's right there, and it's so close for these players who are in our top 8 right now.
The prize that we haven't listed here, and which we will circle back around to later on to discuss, is of course the winner is going to receive their very own custom InklinCustoms token drawn by the best token maker in MTG, and that is going to be super sweet. So everybody looking out for their token, for the cash, for the invite. Let's have a look at who is here to compete for that. Our top 8 for this season. Wow, what a field.
What a field indeed. Some strong contenders, some people who went undefeated for quite some time as well, making it into our top 8, and a ton of great action that we're going to get to see tonight, and a lot of live action that we're going to see as well, something we're very excited to bring you.
Yeah, absolutely. These 8 competitors have been battling out all season. We're not going to spend too much time on each of them right now because we have a lot of content prepared to help everybody, familiarize themselves with the players and get to know them a little bit better as we go through tonight's broadcast. So let's have a quick look at the bracket and see how they're matched up in the quarterfinals. We have Go-Go Flower Ranger, who I believe was the last remaining undefeated player in the VML, going up against Leina at the upper half. Arya against Ailsa. Arya, 2-time VML champion, 1 time in a season, 1 time from the one shot, going up against Ailsa Whyte. Mel Woods, it's Mel's first VML season ever, and Mel is here in the top 8, going up against Zabracus, who is somewhat of a VML veteran, so it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top there. And then we have Julie Izzet and Jana Amari rounding out the bracket, Nicole.
Yeah, I think it's definitely worth mentioning that actually it's the first VML season for 3 of these competitors, Gogo, Flower Ranger, Leina, and Mel Woods, all first VML seasons, all first, obviously, VML top 8 here. And like you said, Gogo, Flower Ranger getting out of the round robin unscathed, making it through the top 16 with one of the most exciting matches that we've had the pleasure of covering so far this season, and on to battle here against Leina, who is also a first-time VMLer, first-time VML top 8. So really impressive part on all 3 of those players, and so happy to have them be a part of the VML here.
So happy indeed, and so excited to see how this is all gonna shake out. Will we have some players remain undefeated? Will we see someone who is a first-time VML competitor take it all down, or will we see a 2-time champion bring it home? That's what we're here to find out.
Yeah, very exciting stuff coming up tonight. And so for those of you who are a little bit newer to the format, I'll just explain a little bit about how we got here and what we're doing tonight. Players played 7 weeks of division play, where everyone was split into divisions of 8 players each. They played round robin, and then the top 2 finishers from each division made it to the playoffs, where we had a week of top 24, a week of top 16, which was last week, and now we're here in the top 8. What we're going to do tonight is we are going to show you just one of the quarterfinal rounds. So one of those 4 matches, which we have pre-recorded, and then after that, we will be showing both of the semifinals live, and of course the grand finals live. So a lot of stuff to play for. But first of all, we are going to look at a quarterfinal match that happened earlier during the week, and let's find out who we have for the quarterfinal match. And I can tell you, friends, it's Arya against Ailsa. So previous champion Arya going up against Ailsa Whyte. What do we think about that, Nicole?
It's going to be quite a match. Now, Ailsa's deck here had registered Temur Treasures, which I took a look at. I went, Temur Treasure, what is that? And it's the old, and forgive me for saying this, the old Moist Gruul deck, where it's like an aggressive Gruul list with blue in the sideboard for counter magic and things like that. So I was really excited when I saw that somebody had like revived this deck, because it was a pre Crimson Vow list, really, like, and that had been touched up since Crimson Vow now, and we haven't really seen it. I don't know that we've seen it this season in weeks, honestly. So I'm super excited to see that, and to have yes, I'm sorry.
I just been watching Becky's face scrunch up.
It's fine.
It's
fine.
The word moist.
It's not so much the word moist. The word moist doesn't bother me very much, but the name being Moist Gruul, like just the mixture of the word moist with the word gruel.
Does it dampen your spirits?
It really does, yes.
Hey.
More than a damping sphere as a Tron player ever has.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, before we get into it, let's get to know our competitors. Nicole, as always, has done an awesome series of quick little video interviews with all of our players this week. So we're gonna see what Arya had to say when Nicole spoke to her during the week.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Interview with the Vampire. I am once again your mistress of midnight, Nicole Callahan, joined here tonight by a player that needs no introduction, the lovely Arya Karamchandani. Arya, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing really well, thanks.
You should be doing really well. Here you are, familiar territory, back in the top 8 of the VML. I'll call you a 2-time VML champion, once taking down season number 4, and then also our one-shot champion from over the summer. So how does it feel to be back here, battling again?
It feels really good. This is like this is not an experience I ever really get with other tournaments. All other tournaments are just like big one-day events, whereas this is the league format, the whole preparing for a top 8 that you've qualified for. There's really nothing like it, so it's a really good feeling, pretty different from all the other tournaments I play, so that's really nice too.
No, it's awesome to have you back, and it's awesome to have you back now. See, last week for top 16, you battled with Mono Whyte, and this week, going back to your roots, I think a little more, bringing back that Izzet Epiphany deck. How are you feeling, committing to that deck throughout the top 8?
I feel pretty good. I think the deck is the best deck in Standard right now. I think this list is exactly the list I'd register for any other tournament as well. And since it was top 8, it made sense to just bring the best deck rather than try and metagame for like a single quarterfinals matchup.
No, it makes a lot of sense. Your opponent on Temur Treasures, so should be a really good matchup. Very much looking forward to that one. So when you're looking forward to your matchup, do you have some sort of like pre-game thing you need to do, like a superstition? Do you have any sort of like ritual? Is there like a certain song you need to listen to? Do you need to like like wear your hair a certain way? What do you do to get ready for a match, outside of practice?
Well, it's not really a pre-match thing, but one thing I'll do is that during a given like match of like high stakes tournament Magic, I'll choose some song depending on what I'm feeling at the time and listen to it on loop throughout the whole match, so that it's not like a bunch of songs that slightly distract me, but there's also something going on so I don't like lose focus and can concentrate.
I really like that. And I mean, like, I can imagine like in like, a mirror, like if you have to play the full fit, just hitting play, loop, go, and just the next hour, you just know your life is going to be there, that one song. I like that. That's a lot of fun. All right, and one final question for you tonight, and this one might get me in a little bit of trouble, but if you do end up taking down this tournament once again, what would you pick your token to be?
Probably either a vampire or a blood to show my allegiance this season.
Yes, vampires did take down the werewolves this season, and you were a big part of that, so Team Vampire all the way. Well, Arya, thank you so much for your time on this Eternal Night. I appreciate it very much, and best of luck to you through the rest of the top 8.
Thank you.
Night.
Bye.
What an awesome competitor. Absolutely love having Arya here every season. Of course, Arya now part of the casting team here at the VML as well. So
lucky to have her.
Absolutely. Let's have a quick look at what Arya is playing. You mentioned it a little bit during the interview. It is Izzet turns again. And Beky, is there anything about this list that really stands out to you?
I mean, it's kind of one of those things where we've seen Arya be one of the people that everyone who's trying to play one of these decks has listened to across multiple decks. I want to add, just a player who has shown a lot of prowess and knowledge about the format, and as a result is playing things like these Demon Bolts and these Sundering Rebukes in the main board, potentially preparing for a situation where maybe having some of those cheaper removal spells to flashback are important, as well as I believe that's a test of talents in the main board, which is an interesting decision, but I like to see it, and I like to see going for kind of those little gotcha moments that you can have in that game 1 situation. And I think if it's gonna go off, it's gonna do some great things for Arya in this game.
All right, well, let's flip over to the other side of the battlefield. It is going to be Ailsa Whyte going up against Arya. Let's find out what Ailsa had to say to Nicole.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Interview with the Vampire. I am once again your Mistress of Midnight, Nicole Callahan, joined here by the fantastic Ailsa Whyte. Ailsa, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good, thanks. Working in the healthcare sector during a pandemic is a bit exhausting, but we're getting there.
Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you so much for your service there. But not only are you knocking it out there, you're knocking it out here in the VML. You made the top 8. How does that feel?
Feels good. Been here before, got knocked out in the quarters that time, so hoping to do better. But after an 0-2 start, I can't really complain.
An 0-2 start?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I felt bad to lose to week 1. I kind of spent all night thinking about it because I had to play where I could play an Immerstone Predators and an 8/8 off 2 treasures with Callahan in play. And my opponent could only have a Wrath anyway to like win or to not lose. And the Immerstem plus a gold span in my hand just like wins the game through Blood in the Snow. And for whatever reason, I play a Brybridge tracker randomly and I lose. And then I go on to lose the match from 2-0 up, from 1-0 up. So that felt bad, but just had to pick it up and battle on. And
Use it as inspiration.
yeah, I'm pretty happy with my play since then for the most part. So.
Oh, I'd imagine so. You couldn't be doing too much better. This week, choosing to go into top 8 with a really unique deck, one that we saw a little bit maybe in the beginning of the season, but after all the new cards were added, an archetype that seemed to be lost, Temur Treasures, with some new additions here. Really interesting, a little bit of spice. I love it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
So up until now, obviously, I've been targeting specific opponents. I've been able to kind of settle on a deck that I think is the best choice for the week. I feel like I'm pretty good at that. But obviously top 8's a bit different. I have to prepare for the whole field in addition to my quarterfinal matchup. And I didn't love many of my choices. I'm 13th seed, so I'm going to be on the draw a lot. I figured the mono white players, which were probably going to be on the play, had a pretty good shot in the top 8. I think they're pretty well positioned. So I couldn't run back Dimir control. It feels really bad on the draw. And Temur didn't want to play an Izzet mirror because I know Arya's spent a huge amount of time casting Unexpected Windfall compared to me. So feel like I'm playing into her hands if I opted for a likely mirror. So I went with Temur. Mostly based it off a list that won the challenge last weekend on Magic Online. Liked the look of it, played well. It's not a deck I think I would choose if I was playing a full tournament with it, like through Swiss and to the end, because I think it's pretty high variance. Like it has some really high highs and some really low lows. Like you can easily watch this match and that's coming up, and my deck could do nothing. But I feel like to win a top 8, you generally have to kind of run a bit, and it has draws that can beat anything. It has some of the most explosive draws in the format and a lot of ways to restore tempo. Like you have all these haste threats, which on the draw you can kind of steal the play from people a lot with the haste threats, and also just the huge amounts of mana that you generate with the Magda, Jaspera Sentinel package and Prosperous Innkeeper and so on.
No, it's a great package. High ceiling, floor, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
But one of the big rules I believe about winning a tournament is at some point things got to fall your way. You get a little bit of lucky. Not everything's going to be a good matchup all the way through. And if anybody, we know that you can battle back. So in preparation, do you have any sort of like special thing you got to do for good luck, before a match, or like any sort of like fun ritual, like wear different colored socks or?
I do anything too crazy. Honestly, like a lot of people really like to like play a lot of Magic to get in the zone, but I haven't really been doing that. I kind of been, I've been prepping for my matches a couple of days beforehand, and then just locking it in, forgetting about Magic for 2 days, and then playing my matches, I guess. So, I guess just doing anything but Magic.
Listen, that's a great strategy.
Don't overthink it,
I love it. So now, if you are able to battle your way through this top 8, top 4 finals, take it all down, what would you like your token to be here?
It's an interesting choice. I mean, possibly it could be a treasure token. If that's the deck that gets me there. Get plenty of I want to be able to use my tokens, right?
Totally get
so
it.
Something like treasures, maybe a spirit token. I've cast a lot of lingering souls in my days, so maybe a spirit token.
Either one would be a fantastic choice. And Ailsa, thank you so much for your time tonight. I appreciate it very much. Best of luck to you the rest of the top 8, and don't be working too hard, all right?
Well, kind of have everything, but definitely be taking some holidays soon, and if I win, then that would be nice too.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Well, you have a wonderful night. Good luck.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Bye.
Wow. What an inspiring competitor.
I'm
coming back from 0-2.
Yeah, and I actually love pretty much everything that Ailsa said about why her deck is good, why she picked it, and I liked the kind of process of elimination of saying like, well, these ones are good. I don't really want to run like a skill matchup into somebody who clearly has a ton of skill with this specific deck and likely mirror match. And I like going for certain decisions that are just putting Ailsa in the best position to do the most with the cards chosen to bring, and that ended up being Temur Treasures. And it's one of those decks that I would have like initially been like, I don't really know how to feel about this, but after watching how Ailsa explains her decision making with everything, I'm on board. And I couldn't help but feel like, wow, I end up having like a very similar thought process. I also am kind of guilty of like playing a ton of Magic to prepare and then like kind of forgetting about it for 2 days and then going into playing the matches. And I was like gonna come into like this like post interview being like, wow, I feel like I'm on the same wavelength, and then went to see if you were going to be a Magic card and you were gonna have the partner mechanic, who would you partner with? And Matter Reshaper is the answer. And it's kind of uncanny at this point.
Okay, well, I don't know if anyone's actually ever seen Beky and Ailsa in the same room at the same time, so that's a mystery for the ages. I will say about this Temur Treasures deck, which I've played quite a bit of Sentinel Magda in my time. And these decks have run a variety of different threats at the 4-drop slot, right? It's like the black version runs Immiston Predator, the straight Gruul version sometimes runs a bunch of werewolves, and then this version runs Moonveil Region, which I'm not so sure about, but the 3 copies over the 75 of Helana and Leina, I think have actually changed this deck significantly from what we were used to seeing before, because when they got the 3-drop, the Reckless Stormseeker that gives haste to 4-drops, that was like a big change, right? Giving your Esca's Chariot haste was like a big deal. And then Helana and Leina to give things haste and make them bigger, I think has actually, this deck feels very different texturally to how it has felt before.
Yeah, and that growth is like permanent.
Right.
To have it be counters and to have it just grow.
Yeah.
So. It's definitely a very interesting resurrection of this deck. So I wasn't expecting it. I don't know if anybody else was expecting on seeing this in the top 8, but I know I certainly was not.
Literally not. No, not even slightly. So, well, we've talked enough about it. Let's go down to the action and find out what happened in this match. It is Arya against Ailsa in the quarterfinals of the VML. Let's go down to the action. Oh, I see. Okay, so we're going to be watching from Ailsa's point of view. Jaspera Sentinel, Snakeskin Veil, Dragon's Fire. What about this opener, Beky?
Ooh, I mean, normally the moment I see a Jaspera Sentinel, I'm like feeling pretty good about it, but the action after having something, I mean, obviously Jaspera Sentinel wants a buddy to hang out onto the field with, and there just wasn't that. This one looks like it should be in a good spot. The Jaspera Sentinel kind of bridges the gap of not having maybe some of the lands that we would like to be seeing, but at least being able to maybe kind of bridge that gap a little bit of the way, and hoping, there we go, find a land and everything. I should be able to run just a little bit smoother going forward, and hopefully in the meantime the Jaspera Sentinel can kind of hold it down the fort. We aren't worrying about a ton of aggression coming out of Arya's deck, but just being able to kind of make sure that we have something going on is a good start for this deck.
All right, so Jaspera Sentinel getting in, and no red mana just yet for Ailsa, but does have a couple of copies of Esca's Chariot. They can be pretty impactful later on, Nicole.
Yes, we see Esca's Chariot, but like you said, no 4th land and no color besides green having to play that pathway on green because there's no blue cards in the main deck. So a couple of dead cards kind of just hanging out, and Ailsa hoping for a red source or another small creature that she can make red with that Jaspera Sentinel.
Oh, the collective groan from the booth. A red 3-drop is the opposite of what Ailsa was looking for there. No fourth land to get the chariots going, no red mana to get any of these red cards going. Things are looking pretty bad as we move into the mid game with Arya making all of the land drops every turn that she needs. And oh, here we go. We have knowledge and oof. That's 2 galvanic iterations of Syndiclasm of Fading Hope and a Divide by 0.
And here's the red source, but is it too late?
I mean, you got to start somewhere. You got to start trying to come back into this game somehow, and at least being able to kind of go runner things that Arya has to answer is a good start to that as well. And I think going for kind of like the biggest / hardest thing for Divide by 0 to answer is going to be the best call. Because like, should this, I mean, this Esca's Chariot's likely going to be returned to hand by the set Divide by 0. But once those cats come into play, they're a lot more difficult to get rid of. However, the Cinderclasm can do that, but then you still have a chariot in play. You can follow it up with another chariot. There's a lot of kind of like weird ways that Esca's Chariot does a good job of getting through some of the things that the Izzet Turns deck is trying to do, and it's a big reason why they're having to play things like that Cinderclasm.
Fading Hope is going to even send that Despair Sentinel back to hand as well. Arya got Teachings of the Archaic off the Learn. This is something you don't see very often, Teachings of the Archaic being copied. But Ailsa has just played so few spells that Arya's going to have fewer cards in hand, despite the fact that the Teachings was copied.
And with Arya still being at a healthy 17 life, not really caring what Ailsa is going to commit to the board this turn, knowing likely the 2 spells that it's going to be and saying, that's fine. I have the Cinderclasm as a great follow-up that doesn't cost a lot of mana, is going to allow me to hold up even more interaction later. Everything is looking pretty smooth going for the side of Arya.
Magda Brazen Outlaw was the find. Magda Sentinel, of course, is, you know, a key combination in this Gruul deck, Nicole, but like, what if you're Ailsa, what are you trying to achieve in the next few turns? Are you just throwing things and seeing what sticks?
Well, from Ailsa's side, I'd be really scared because Arya just drew a bunch of cards off the Teachings and has 7 lands in play and just said go. So overcommitting to this board is probably not a good idea at this point. And knowing that Arya has 2 Cinderclasms in the main deck and has had a lot of looks already. So I kind of like a little bit of patience from Ailsa here and not running everything out. So it looks like Magda Pass might be what happens here as Galvanic Iteration gets cast on Arya's side and kind of just clench up and wait and see what's going to follow.
Yeah, and I mean...
Oh my goodness. Iteration into iteration. Is this going to be a triple divide?
A triple divide would take care of the chariot and Magda, but going for this Cinderclasm is just making sure that everything is just going to be wiped from the board. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
So Arya deciding to triple up this Cinderclasm, being ultra careful to play around something like a Snakeskin Veil that could have put a counter on that chariot and saved it from merely the double Cinderclasm.
3 iterations ready to be flashback and a lot of mana and even more in hand still for Arya, who's got to be feeling pretty safe, though there's a lot of things still in Ailsa's hand and a lot of things that can still be some action. This Goldspan Dragon has got to look kind of appealing, but knowing that your opponent likely has at least 1 Divide by 0 is not something that you really want to be even thinking about.
The Reckless Stormseeker is going to be the play.
I will note here that there is a Lair of the Hydra in play on Ailsa's side, and Arya is at 13. Divide by 0 can't deal with that.
That's a good point, Nicole. We could see this Lair of the Hydra get fired up at some point. Arya, did take a bit of damage from all of those little chips in with the Despair Sentinel, and what a feeling this is. The blue mage Haiyue is just like so like this, but I am always biased towards counter spells, and especially getting to force spike something. And just every blue player just knows there's no sweeter feeling in the world.
Even
It's
if
not
you're not a blue player, like Mana Tithe.
Right, Mana
Oh,
Tithe is
okay.
great.
Yeah, I'm an equal opportunity counter spell supporter. I support Mana Tithe.
But you know, it feels really bad normally when you have that Mana Tithe in hand and it's turn 9, you know? So to see that Doria disruption actually get a spell must feel really good from the side of Arya.
Oh, and what a spell to copy with one of these galvanic iterations.
Wow. Double mascot exhibition, and now Arya has 2 armies in one can. Huge board ready to close this game out. Although, you know, it's not over yet, Beky, because Melly has a lot of threats to play yet.
A lot of threats indeed. It's just a little hard when you're strapped on mana, a little bit difficult to decide exactly where you want to be spending it. You've got to be a little bit careful, really plan your finances and go from there.
Unexpected windfall, another great draw here. Perfect to be copied multiple times with Galvanic Iteration. And we're going to see Arya draw. I believe the technical term is a billion gazillion cards.
The technical and correct term, yes, a billion gazillion indeed, and make a lot of treasures to make it even safer to just kind of continue down this path of card advantage.
So what do you think Arya is digging for at this point? What does she want to see in her hand?
I think you see it there, Nicole.
I think we see it now.
Yeah. And I mean, we know that Arya also has approximately 10 mana and now has 6 treasures on top of it. So being able to cast not 1, but 2 Galvanic iterations with flashback to copy this Alrund's Epiphany multiple times, I mean, it's starting to look like a further and further dream. And it happens to have just not been the most ideal start for this red-green / Gruul deck.
Yeah.
So gonna make the obvious blocks here. 2/2 on 3/2, 4/4 trades with 4/4. Ailsa goes down to 9, and we're actually probably just gonna see that the Epiphany go on the sack right now. That is gonna do it for game number 1. Arya with the Epiphany closing this one out. Wow. Nicole, what do you like from the sideboard here from Ailsa?
All right, so on Ailsa's side, we definitely don't want to see those play with fire. I do like Snakeskin Veil a lot here. We see Disdainful Stroke also coming in. Anything blue is coming in from the side. So we have those 2 Tested Talents, a Negate, and a Disdainful Stroke all coming in. The one Helena and Leina looks like it's going to stay in the sideboard, but it looks like Ailsa is also going to keep the 2 main deck in the main deck for now. Oh, wait, nope, the 3rd one will come in. So...
Yeah,
like
switching that out for the Issachar's Chariot. Maybe thinking Issachar's Chariot a little bit weak to something like Syndiclasm when there's 3 copies post board.
Yeah, certainly true. And I like the decision as we do see Arya go for those Cinderclasms, shaving on some of these bigger spells, taking away those Alrund's Epiphanies. I like Arya just realizing the games that I'm going to lose are the games where I get gummed up on some of these expensive spells. So I'm just going to make sure that that is not something that can possibly happen. And I can win through, you know, kind of in that last game, just won through a copied mascot exhibition, which can happen through the course of a longer game. And whatever gets us to that longer game is what Arya is trying to bring forward.
Yeah, and 2 of my personal favorite cards ever printed coming in from the sideboard there. Smoldering Egg and 1 singleton copy of Hullbreaker Horror. So I'm pretty happy, pretty excited to see some egg action, Nicole.
All right, eggs is, and then we've got a little the moistening of the Gruul deck has happened now as well. So definitely a different sideboard plan coming in from these decks. And
hello, everyone, and
so excited to get in. Everybody's excited. The stream is really excited.
Yeah, the stream is so excited that it can barely handle what is going on. We've traveled back in time very slightly. Here we are with Oh, the beauty of pre-recorded magic. And here we are back in the sideboard. We will get game 2 underway in just a second here. And if you have just joined us, welcome, and especially welcome if you are Apollo, Becky's dog.
I'm so sorry. He's very excited.
Just like the rest of us.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, game 2, let's go.
Game 2, where is my game 2? You are watching the top 8 of the VML. We are watching our quarterfinal match here between Arya, two-time VML champion Arya, and Ailsa, who is no stranger to the VML top 8 herself. Once this is done, we will be watching live semi-final and finals coverage. So the top 4 are all, you know, in the green room, stretching their muscles, getting their last-minute pep talks from their coaches, I assume. And here we go. Game 2. What do we think about this opening hand, Nicole?
It's okay. It's not the best. Like Shatter Skull, probably not something you want to play here. I do like having the Demon Bolt if you are expecting cards like Smoldering Egg to be coming in, which obviously Ailsa is, and Arya has brought in. But double Halana and Elena and, you know, Magda with no real partner, it seems okay. Like
you're really hoping this Magda lives. Right?
It has to live. It has to live, and knowing that, you know, Spike Field Hazards and there's Cinderclasms and there's Thundering Rebukes and Demon Bolts and all the things that you're staring down. So it looks like Ailsa will ship that one back.
How this
is
second
rough.
hand, it is rough. I can definitely understand this, right? Like, you don't want to go down to 5 on the play.
Yeah.
You have a turn 1 play. You have a Demon Bolt for an egg. Like, it's almost there.
It's almost there, and it just feels like it's going to run into the same problem that Ailsa ran into in the first match, where we kind of just had a Jaspara Sentinel with no friends hanging out on the board, and I don't like a lonely Jaspara Sentinel.
That's a really sad image.
That is really sad. Oh, I never thought I'd
There's so
feel
many
this
friends in the
pity.
picture. The art, there's so many Jaspera Sentinel friends.
Yeah, exactly. And I just want our Sentinel to have more friends.
Yay! So we
Done
do
it.
see the second Jaspera Sentinel off the top, which is a great find here for Ailsa. Going to get that mana rolling. Let's have a look at what Arya's working with. Not a lot. Jawari Disruption, Spike Wheel Hazard, and 2 copies of Liet, Disciple of the Drowned. Little bit of a thin start here for Arya as well.
Yeah, I mean, this could have been an insane start against the last hand that Ailsa had, but now, I mean, running one Jaspara Sentinel into drawing this other one actually plays around what Arya has started with in hand perfectly.
Interesting decision also to not foretell that Demon Bolt from Ailsa.
Ooh.
It's going to keep that one as a surprise.
And now this gets interesting. Now
Are we
have
going to
a
see a
test.
dragon be disrupted?
I mean, I think we will if that is what Ailsa decides to go for, but I personally would be really tempted to just hold up this test of talents.
Oh, love it. Love it. Ailsa playing beautifully around the Jawari Disruption that we, of course, know is in hand for Arya. And yeah, going to put that Demon Bolt in foretell now. Unexpected win for the draw.
That would be a good one to test your talents.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, and
Or
another
disdainful stroke, you know.
or another nice little draw here and this disdainful stroke. And I like kind of using that foretelling of the Demon Bolt potentially being like trying to bait out a little bit of action from Arya and being like, oh, maybe there's something in this foretell. Like, obviously we open deck list, so you can kind of tell exactly what it's going to be. But
oh my goodness.
ooh, all right, now comes the question: do we
Is it time?
test it or do we stroke it?
You gotta test it. Oh, there it is. Test of talents on unexpected win for one of the most important cards in the Izzet Epiphany deck, and all of those copies are going to be going away. Huge swing here for Ailsa.
Nothing
Yes, and-
feels better than getting to pull out the remaining 3 cards from your opponent. Well, the only thing that feels better is pulling them out of their hand, but
Well, almost as good as that is being able to know what's in Arya's hand. Be like, all right, Arya, what are you working with here? I saw you discard a Spike Field Hazard, cast this Unexpected Windfall. Now, with the knowledge of the two Leers, the Jawari Disruption and the Landfall in hand. So we'll see that Leer coming down here. But we have Ailsa with almost full knowledge, not knowing about the Spike Field Hazard that was just drawn, but knows that this takes
Ailsa-
care of one of the two.
Ailsa also did not exile the Windfall that was in the graveyard
Oh.
for Arya.
All right, but with some of the shields down, no mana open for Arya. 6 damage can come across, and that tapped Goldspan Dragon does nicely equate to this treasure that can tap for 2 mana to cast a Disdainful Stroke.
And unfortunately, Arya has that Jawari Disruption in hand that Ailsa knows about, but only has 6 mana available this turn, cannot cast Leia and back it up with the Disruption, and gonna see the bad news. Disdainful Stroke out of the hand. What a turnaround this has been in game number 2. Ailsa in a dominating position. Arya scoops this one up. Wow.
Beautiful. And I mean, you love to see it when every single card that Ailsa played mattered. It came down to every single one of those cards equating to the victory. And I mean, when you're on a mulligan and it just ends up being like every single card really counted, that's just a good feeling.
No, I believe that was a very disciplined mulligan on the side of Ailsa there. Going down to 6 cards never feels good, especially against an Izzet opponent where they will 2-for-1 you all day. So
Oh yeah.
very well played by Ailsa in that second game there. And any changes in sideboard here, do you think?
We do see one Eska's Chariot taken out to be replaced with a Dragon's Fire is an interesting decision. Potentially thinking that those Dragon's Fires can deal 4 damage alongside the Goldspan Dragon and take care of something like those Smoldering Eggs, which now with Arya on the play are a little more intimidating.
So we are looking at the opening hands for the deciding game here in our quarterfinals. Arya against Ailsa. It's coming down to the wire. Ailsa with the Despair Sentinel on 1, but no 2-drop to follow up just yet. Arya working with Cinderclasm, Divide, Leia, and a Demon Bolt in Foretell. Couple of counter spells drawn here by Ailsa. They were so good in game 2, Nicole. Are we going to see them be as good here again?
Yeah, I imagine it's some of the best cards that Ailsa has for this matchup. So I imagine that they will make a huge impact here. As long as that Leer doesn't hit the battlefield first, which Test of Talents and Negate will not stop Leer from coming down. So
you make
a Demon Bolt will
such
certainly
a good
remove
point. Yeah, we'll see how that interaction plays out. Another pro tip for everyone at home, because I always forget this and Arya has to tell me every time. Leia stops ward from happening. So when Leia's on the battlefield, there's no ward on anything.
Yep.
Don't pay for ward.
Yeah, ward does say counter, and Leer does say can't be countered. No spells can be countered. Not yours, not your opponent's, none of them.
So Ailsa with a bit of a reactive hand here, Beky. Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing right now?
I mean, 1 damage is maybe not the most impactful amount that you would like to be swinging for every single turn, but I think swinging for any amount of damage on every single one of these turns has to count for something in Ailsa's mind, but it is going to be a little bit scary. This Thirst for Discovery, actually a great card to be playing because it's not really one that is going to bait out one of these counter spells, but it is going to kind of allow Arya to kind of fix her hand to make sure that we're getting all of those land drops and eventually just get to win the counterspell war. And since Arya is only taking 1 damage a turn, something like that Thirst for Discovery to fix up this hand is exactly what you want to see at this point in time.
Arya making the very disciplined decision to not bin that last basic land in hand. Of course, obviously is going to draw the land the next turn, but puts the Divide, and the Fading Hope in the graveyard. Those are going to be useful later on once Leia comes down, should Leia stick around.
maybe a little bit difficult with this Demon Bolt in the foretell zone. That is a little bit easy to foretell when there probably aren't a ton of foretell cards in Ailsa's deck, but Arya getting to use some of that information to her advantage going forward.
I think they're actually the only foretell cards.
I didn't
believe.
want to say that and then be wrong, but I also
gonna go
believe
out on
that
the
they're
limb.
the
I'll take the
okay,
risk.
all right, thanks. I appreciate that. I'm also pretty sure that they're the only ones, but
Oh, and
Ooh.
attack for one and go. So a pass back to Arya. So it's a bit of a staring contest here. Kind of passing a Goldspan Dragon on Ailsa's side and just being like, go. And I feel like Arya really wants this to keep going. Would love the pass go, have the chance to draw some lands to build up the battlefield, and Smoldering Egg coming down here. So that Demon Bolt is now in high demand.
Yeah, and you know, Arya knows, of course, about the foretold card, and Demon Bolt gonna try and deal with the Smoldering Egg, and Arya is just gonna let that one go.
I mean, based on the spells that were discarded earlier, I think that Lear is kind of, in Arya's eyes, the more important creature to keep alive. So letting the Smoldering Egg kind of eat the Demon Bolt, and now, to Arya's knowledge, this Lear being a little bit more safe for some of these later turns is just a little more impactful.
Also, I feel like Ailsa having 5 mana and saying go, like that just screams, I have negate, I have test of talents, I have something. And Arya's really valuing those 2 divide by zeros in hand very highly right now.
Magda Brazen Outlaw. One of my favorite cards in this format right now. We are going to see Syndiclasm go on the stack. This is a bit of a tempting target for that test of talents in hand.
I think that this one, I personally would negate this one and hold the test of talents. But that would be me personally. It is kind of a difficult decision because it's one of those things where every time the Syndiclasm has been played, it's been impactful, especially when you're able to copy it. But I think you're just hoping that your opponent is like, okay, cool, I have one Syndiclasm. I'm not really looking for those other ones, or at least not as quickly.
Spikefield Hazard on the Magda. Is this? It's got to be a little bit tempting, right? There's got to be a little devil on your shoulder that says, what if we just test of talented 4 lands from the deck?
I mean, that is, I agree, it is tempting, but I think going for the Snakeskin Veil is a bit smarter, and it is going to be a little bit of a 2-for-2 back and forth here.
Magda must have a price on her head. My goodness.
She really must, especially if Ailsa is also thinking about defending with the test of talents against the Demon Bolt.
I mean, it is true because Magda is just going to sit there, create the mana that Ailsa needs to really be operating, on full speed, should we say. And that second ability that Magda has is not irrelevant either. We have seen that do quite a lot of damage here. You know, when Magda can fetch a dragon from the deck or an Esika's Chariot from the deck, that's not nothing.
Certainly not nothing, and the test of talents resolves will get one more Demon Bolt out of the deck. Nothing else to see here, just a Lear and 2 divide by zeros.
So Arya could actually divide the Spikefield Hazard here and replay it, but decided not to. It's just going to hold up the 2 divides. Arya in kind of a tricky spot here, Nicole.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because, it doesn't feel, honestly, it doesn't feel too great to divide too many threats in Ailsa's deck, Esika's Chariot or Goldspan Dragon. It's just inevitable that it's coming back. It leaves some sort of impact on the battlefield as soon as it enters. That doesn't feel too great. I'm not sure that even the learn, like, what lesson could help Arya in that area, like kind of recover from needing to keep the battlefield clear. But I will say Arya is still at a very healthy 16 life right now. So the pressure from Ailsa's side has not been that consistent.
Yeah, and especially if Ailsa continues to use this Magda to make mana, it does give Arya more time. Having said that, Ailsa says, nope, it's time to put the pressure on. I love this aggression here, Beky.
I'm a pretty big fan of it as well, and it is going to bring out one of these divide by zeros from Arya's hand. Can't take care of that Den of the Bugbear, but can take care of Magda, and this will mean that we're getting a little bit more token energy onto the field, more things that are a little bit difficult to take care of with divide by zero. But now that Arya also has this mascot exhibition in hand, we are on the precipice of having a very strong defensive side.
So here is Leia, Disciple of the Drowned, on the battlefield. Everything in Arya's graveyard now has flashback. This turn, she has available the Fading Hope and the Spitefield Hazard. And Ailsa finds a Shatter Skull Smashing for turn.
The Shatter Skull Smashing is probably not exactly what you want to be seeing, and you probably are looking at this Dragon's Fire in your hand and thinking, oh, this can take care of Lear, and that is certainly something that I am interested in doing so that I can keep attacking. But it's a little bit difficult as well when there's a Fading Hope in the yard that can be flashback to save the Lear. So then you're throwing this Dragon's Fire at Lear only to have Lear just brought back to hand. As we saw Arya also hover the Cinderclasm, we can just flashback Cinderclasm, let Lear die, and take care of what's on the board, and followed up with a mascot exhibition. And it looks like we might see kind of a little bit of both here. Spikefield Hazard to take care of that 1/1, and then the Fading Hope to save Lear as well.
Yeah, and that is the reason you wait on playing something like this, so you can have that Fading Hope ready. But here it is, Goldspan Dragon time, hitting the battlefield, getting in, making some treasure, and now Ailsa, really with all of the mana that she needs to work with. Arya down to just 7 life with Mascot Exhibition, Lear Divide, and Jawari Disruption. Can she get out of this one? We've seen her in sticky situations before. We've seen her fight back from many a scenario, but things are looking really great here for Ailsa in game number 3, the deciding game.
Very true. Fully tapped out here. 2 cards left in Arya's hand are known by Ailsa. And we do have this big dragon that can still kind of attack across the field without too much of a threat, as well as kind of follow it up with having a ton of treasure. Some of our ground attackers are looking a little more gummed up. That 4/4 elemental is something that is a little bit more difficult to punch through. But should we be able to figure out a line that gets as much damage across as possible, I think Ailsa is looking to make sure that ideally next turn is kind of the winning turn. But it is going to be an interesting decision, as well as mana usage to go along with it going into this turn. And I think it probably involves attacking with this Den of the Bugbear as well, while still trying to play the pretty much every card remaining in hand.
So Magda, Essica's Chariot are available. We know, and I think Ailsa knows as well, that there is a Cinderclasm in the graveyard. There's a Lear waiting to come back down. So we could be in quite an interesting situation where Arya is able, to effectively answer the board presented by this Chariot, as well as the Magda. So Ailsa's just going to play out into it and say, okay, if you want to spend your turn using Lear plus Cinderclasm, that's fine. I'm going to still have a dragon.
And a dragon that can't be blocked in the air, importantly, but there is still this divide by zero in hand, as well as one in the yard that can be flashed back with Lear. So it's just becoming more and more tricky for Ailsa to be like, here are my threats. I know you can answer a few of them, and I just have to see which one you pick and respond accordingly.
This is definitely a crux here. Arya deciding exactly how she wants to spend her mana. Having 3 left open can kick that Cinderclasm, can divide by 0. You know, Cinderclasm not going to take care of the Goldspan Dragon. Ailsa with only 1 card left in hand. Arya at this point is saying, well, if Ailsa has an answer for this, then I'm dead anyway. So really big turn here.
Yeah, really huge turn. I think Arya just trying to figure out the timing, the precise timing of this Cinderclasm. Do we want to wait for the Chariot to be crewed? Do we want to wait for attacks? Do we want to wait to see if Den of the Bugbear is going to be animated? Do we want to play around something like a Sneakskin Veil for the 2/2? There's a lot of considerations here for Arya.
A lot of considerations indeed, but trying to keep options open, going for that pass and saying, I'm going to wait and see what you do and do what my deck does best and react accordingly.
Because there's some world, right, where Ailsa says, okay, I can see you have a Cinderclasm, I'm just going to attack with Dragon.
It's very, very true. And it's risky to do something like activate this Den of the Bugbear. It's even still kind of risky just because of the 4/4 as well as the 3/4 along with this 3/2 to activate up the Chariot, possibly trying to decide, okay, if I were to tap pretty much everything, see what happens, like it's just spooky kind of any way you slice it. It is.
I'm honestly like so tense right now. I can't even explain. Like my spine is in knots. I'm just staring, being like, "Oh my goodness, how is this gonna pan out? We are gonna find out together." And I'm really glad that both of you are here with me because this is, you know, there's a lot on the line here. But both of these players trying to you know, requalify on to the set championships. Ailsa trying to get, of course, that all-important invite as well. What are the lines?
It's hard because every time I think I've found a line, I'm like, oh, one of the other cards in Arya's graveyard answers that pretty cleanly. So it is like genuinely just like a difficult situation, and I don't really know what the best play is. I guess ultimately, like with that timer ticking down and not all of the time in the world, the correct decision is probably going for the attack with the Goldspan Dragon and the Ezeka's Chariot, but getting divided by 0, not the worst thing. That's maybe a situation where I would have activated the Den of the Bugbear.
But then you're just
attacking
it,
it. Yeah, you are just jump attacking it into the Leer, and then you would get one across. Yeah, that's probably just not worth it. But it is.
This.
Oh,
I like that.
Oh, I
like
love this. Ezeka's Chariot getting in. I'm going to copy one of these treasures. Now Magda's second ability, which we were talking about earlier, is live. Oof. Spicy times here in game number 3. What are you getting, Nicole? What are you wishing for?
I was just looking because the options here would be Moonveil Regent, Goldspan Dragon, or another Ezeka's Chariot.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure.
I mean, a double dragon turn doesn't sound too bad. We have the one Goldspan Dragon in hand. We could get another one out, and like that is an attack for 8 in the air, which is like not too bad. It does require that Arya does stone to nothing and also taps out onto the next turn, which I think is just like likely not gonna happen. But it is probably the thing that I would be the most tempted by.
All right, here we go. Magda, sacrifice 5 treasures, get an artifact or a creature, gets the Moonveil region, which is pretty cool. And now replay the Goldspan Dragon, and Moonveil region says you can discard your hand and draw another card, and it's Helena and Leina. Oh my goodness.
Ooh. A card that we have not seen yet in this matchup, except in the hand that was mulliganed. So.
Arya really looking for something like a Galvanic Iteration to copy that Cinderclasm in the graveyard. Finds the Stable Stroke, so that's an answer to Helena. Not, of course, that Arya knows that Helena was a draw.
I'm trying to decide now. So Cinderclasm still cleans up this board pretty nicely. There are still 8 damage worth of attackers in the air. We have 1 divide by 0, 2 divide by zeros. We have the 1 in the yard as well as 1 in the hand. So by function of as long as Lear is in play, we have 3 divide by zeros, but we do only have 8 mana, so we can only cast 2 of them.
That's true. And of course, Disdainful Stroke does not do anything until with Leo on the battlefield. So that is another consideration here for Arya. Oh, uses
2 life.
environment. 2 life is a surprisingly appropriate, relevant amount.
Oh, Ranger class is an interesting draw as well. It is yet another thing that dies to the Cinderclasm, but that attacking buff could be something that helps get some of these creatures out of range, but also just committing the Halana and Leina. Yes,
That's
it is
a lot of mana, right? Like you can play Halana and you can play Ranger class and you can level up Ranger class if you're Ailsa.
In fact, we can.
Arya, wondering about letting this Moonveil Regent trigger resolve first before countering, and doesn't want to allow Ailsa to draw or have the option to draw here. We'll bounce it back to hand and say, listen, if you want to draw, you're going to have to discard what you just played.
Is this lethal?
I mean, as long as there's a Cinderclasm in the yard and we can still cast it, the answer is no.
But in the air, I mean.
Arya's at 9 life, so in the air we're 1 short. So unless this Halana or the Ranger class and a level up resolves, I think we're still shy in the air.
Okay, because Ailsa needs to tap one of these creatures to do either of them. Oh my goodness, this is so tense. So, what Ailsa can do here is spend 4 mana on an effect that gets a counter or 2 onto one of these flying threats. But that means that there's 2 blockers on the ground, so the 2 attackers in the air are the only ones that are getting through, and Arya has a divide available for one of them. So it is going to be Ranger class coming down. Here's the activation. Use the Magda with the treasure, because that makes a treasure. Level up Ranger class. So this is presenting lethal here for the win, for the qualification into the semifinals for Ailsa. Of course, we know about the
divide by zero.
Yeah. Okay, Ranger class. The counter is going on Goldspan Dragon. That's locked in. So now all Ailsa can do is see what Arya has to say. It is going to be divide by 0. Send that Goldspan Dragon back to hand. I assume, well, we presume it's going to be block on the ground. Okay, and Arya is at 5 life, just 5 life, but untaps with Leah, finds unexpected windfall. Nicole, what's Arya's way out of this quandary?
I wish I knew, but she has a lot of options right now. She sure has a lot of looks at cards. A couple of Thirst for Discoveries in the graveyard could be cast. I mean, and the Unexpected Windfall is a good couple of looks at some cards here. What she would be digging for, I'm not really that sure at this point. Can cast Unexpected Windfall and then cast the whole Breaker Horror, but that's not quite enough as far as blockers on the battlefield. Wouldn't be able to Cinderclasm at that point. So
there is some world in which Arya can play the Mascot Exhibition again, I think. out of the graveyard.
That's true. I think also the other thing that we could be looking for with this unexpected windfall is another galvanic iteration, and then simply waiting to copy a Cinderclasm with the Ranger class attack on the stack.
Eating Hope
Or
and
with the
land.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
And Arya does have full knowledge of Ailsa's hand here.
Mhm.
So we'll see that Cinderclasm come down. Now there's Moonveil Regent, Goldspan Dragon, and she knows
Oh
the
my
Lion are there
goodness.
as well. But
Oh,
my
my
God.
goodness. The second Goldspan Dragon ripped off the top of the library
Oh,
for
wow.
Ailsa. Arya has 5 mana available. 1 Fading Hope in hand. 1 Divide by 0 in the graveyard. 4 life to work with. Ranger class does have a second level. So this is, I mean, Arya's just getting pushed back bit by bit.
no.
Ailsa doing a great job here of putting on that pressure, keeping that pressure on every single turn, playing beautifully around the possible cards that she can detect. Divide by 0
this is
is
a win.
going on the Goldspan Dragon. There is still a Fading Hope in hand for Arya.
But Fading Hope doesn't stop one of these getting.
Well, you just bounce the one that gets the
You
counter.
just
gets
target
the
the one.
counter.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my.
And now,
Wow.
okay, so wait. Oh no,
The Fading Hope.
It's
goes to
okay,
the
it's
graveyard.
okay, it's okay.
so we
You
do
can
get to save a
bounce
lot of life.
both.
Oh my gosh.
Right. Whew. Okay, you can do both because Liera's insane. That's a crazy magic card.
Yeah,
Why did they
true.
print it? No idea. Okay, so now
Oh my gosh, another
Arya
land
remaining.
drawn.
uh,
Good thing we have this
no.
Lear.
Yeah, good thing we have this Leia, but no more interaction in hand for Arya. No Fading Hopes, no Divide by Zeros, no Demon Bolts.
Well, she's got to start digging. So, Thirst for Discovery, Unexpected Windfall is a good place to start. Take a few looks. Going to discard a land here and see what the top of the deck has. Another Unexpected Windfall. My goodness.
That is what Unexpected Windfall is best at doing. Finding further unexpected windfalls. Okay, it's time to play a mascot exhibition. To at least present one blocker in the air. Is there there's still a den, right? There's still a den of the bugbear as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Arya's gonna gain 2 life.
Oh.
Oh.
Get it! Why
like
not? Get in!
I mean, if you're dead in the
With
air, you might
Lear.
as well attack on the ground. Like, Lear isn't blocking any one of the 2, 3. I mean, Arya only knows about 2, but isn't blocking any one of those 2 dragons in the air. So we might as well try and get some damage back. I like the attack. It just, I mean, I feel like we've watched Arya be on the back foot for so long that it just took me a
Just
little bit by surprise.
clinging on, just her fingernails like digging into the ledge, being like, no, I won't let go. It's just incredibly exhilarating magic here in our quarterfinals. And if this is a taste of what we have to come for the rest of the evening, I cannot wait. Ailsa now is faced with the options. If she plays a Goldspan Dragon, can have mana to play a 4-drop as well, but not the second dragon in hand.
Which is hard because I feel like the double dragon is kind of the way that eventually this game can be converted into a win, at least like the easiest like manner. But at this point, you also are at a Lone of Light Shuttle where you also got to be a little bit scared of what's coming across back at you.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Is there a hole? There is a hole of the Storm Giants on the battlefield for Arya as well. So Ailsa attacks with the Goldspan Dragon. It becomes a 7/7, which is lethal, but brave young
Little inkling.
inkling. Second Leia is really not helpful for Arya at this moment in time.
So it
Does
looks
not
like
have 14 damage.
Yeah, had 10,
Oh my
but doesn't
goodness.
know that.
More useless cards off the top.
That's so mean to Spikefield Hazard.
I'm sorry, Spikefield Hazard, but just now's not the time. Come back on turn 1.
This is really tense. Going for another unexpected windfall, just trying to see as many cards in hand. The Fading Hope is going to be good to at least keep Arya in the game a little bit longer, returning
Hold
that
on.
Helena and Elena.
Can she activate?
Wait, is this lethal?
Storm Giants here?
Oh my goodness. Fading Hope to take away the single blocker on the battlefield. Exactly. Enough mana from the treasures to activate that Hall of the Storm Giants. And it is lethal on the crackback for Arya, who clung on for dear life for about 20 turns, taking that one down. What is going on?
I'm just gonna say the toughest thing about commentary is right near. I just kind of want to sit here in stunned silence, but we need to talk about what just happened. I cannot believe that Arya holding on,
God.
loving that Lear attack the turn before
Lear
when
attack.
Lear just got in, just knew what she had to do, knew what she had to find, had to get rid of that Helena and clear up that battlefield and get across for lethal at the last second. Had to keep us all waiting.
Yeah, Arya. I'm gonna bill you for my high blood pressure. Oh my god. Oh my goodness, what a match. And of course, incredibly well played to Ailsa Whyte, who was so close, a hair's width from getting that in that game number 3, played beautifully around all of the interaction that Arya could have had and all of the all of the counter spells, everything, and just didn't get there right at the end. Really unfortunate for Ailsa, but congratulations to Arya, who is making it through to yet another VML quarterfinal, Beky.
Wow, absolutely. I mean, there's a reason that we've had multiple VML players boast about, well, for my decision for my deck this week, I just wanted to listen to Arya. And I mean, if you just watched the same game I watched, there's a reason.
Yeah, you're gonna bill her for your blood pressure. She's gonna bill you, right?
for the deck list, yeah.
There you go.
Incredible plays, incredible magic here in the VML. We are going to go for a quick break. We are going to be setting up the live semifinals for all of you. The 3 of us will be back in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to coverage of the VML Top 8 playoffs. It's time. It's semi-final time. Oh my goodness. I'm still recovering from that quarterfinal. I'm really glad that we got to see that Team of Treasures deck in action because it was very scary. Like, it was a great choice, I think, for Ailsa.
I agree. I mean, I liked all of her reasoning going into it, and after seeing her pilot it and seeing like kind of how that game 2 did kind of like swing into her favor, really understood that decision making. I think it was a great choice, and that game 3 was probably one of the most tense matches I've ever watched.
I mean, the quality of magic was just very high, really intense stuff. Good gracious me. Okay, right, but now we're here. We've finished the quarterfinals. Let's have a look back at the bracket because we can now actually reveal who won all of the other quarterfinals that were played earlier on in the week before we get, of course, into our live semi. So let's have a look at the bracket. We will have these names.
There we go.
Oh,
the power of
wow.
production. Can I just say, shout out to Phoebe, incredible job week after week, and now doing live magic, doing live updates to the bracket. Just all around a huge star on our team. And if you can, please go check out Phoebe's transition fund, which is ongoing. And it would be really awesome if you could support her. So Leina winning out over Gogo Flower Ranger in that top half of the bracket. So Leina is going to be going up against Arya, which is going to be our second semifinal of the evening. But first, it's going to be the lower half of the bracket. And we see that Zabracus has, in fact, beaten Mel Woods in the quarterfinals. She is progressing to the top 4 today. And she is going to be facing Julie, who won, I believe it was an Izzet Epiphany mirror. So staying true to the name, Julie Izzet getting that over Jana Amari in the quarterfinals. And this is going to be an insane top 4. Oh my goodness.
An insane top 4 is putting it lightly.
Yes. So we have Leina and Arya both on Izzet turns up top, and Zabracus on a Dimir control deck. It's kind of like Esper, but no, it's just 4 vanishing verse, and then the Whyte for the overload, the path apparel, the
Overload board.
Not
Whyte,
overload.
Yes. Cleave?
the cleave.
Cleave,
I was like the split thing. I couldn't remember what the word was.
The kicker. Let's just call it kicker. Let's just call them all kicker.
Kicker.
It's weird.
Is that Epiphany as well? But I will say one of the biggest surprises here, well, not surprises, but Gogo Flower Ranger falling to Leina. Gogo Flower Ranger was our lone undefeated player going into this. They had been on mono white aggro. Both of our mono white aggro players have been knocked out at this point. And each of our Izzet players has been victorious except for one of them had to lose in the mirror. So Jana Amari was on Izzet Dragons, and Julie Izzet was on Izzet Epiphany and came out on top there. So we have 3 Izzet decks left.
It's true. I'm honestly, you're right. Like, I was expecting, because obviously higher seeds get to decide play or draw. So Gogo Flower Ranger bringing the mono white, Mel bringing the mono white. Actually, Mel had been playing mono white all season, so they were a practiced competitor with that deck. Both of them falling to these more controlling lists, and now we're in the finals with predictably maybe dominated by Izzet Epiphany.
I mean, based on how often we saw Izzet Epiphany pushed into the spotlight throughout this entire season, I can't say that I'm honestly that surprised that 3 out of the 4 decks in our finals are Izzet Epiphany decks.
All right, so we are going to be setting up for the first semifinals. It is going to be Zabracus against Julie. Before we do, let's go back to those interviews, Nicole, that you did. We are going to be finding out this time from Mel Woods, who it is their first VML. Let's see what they have to say about being in the top 8.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Interview with the Vampire. My name is Nicole Callahan. I am once again your Mistress of Midnight, joined here by the fantastic Mel Woods. Mel, how are you doing?
I'm doing.
Okay, we will hear in just a minute what they have to say about being in the top 8. Apologies for that little technical delay that we have here on the stream. I believe we are ready to go very shortly. Let's go to the interview. For reals this time.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Interview with the Vampire. My name is Nicole Callahan. I am once again your Mistress of Midnight, joined here by the fantastic Mel Woods. Mel, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for coming back. It's been a few weeks, but it's been a very eventful few weeks for you. You just ran everyone over, and here you are in top 8. How's it been since we talked last?
It's been so kind of wild and exciting. This is like my first, I would say, like competitive tournament outside of like my LGS or like the Arena Opens, and so to like get this far in it is like better than I could have ever expected. And it's been fun being able to do it with a deck that I really love and I love playing with, and I feel good about.
Yeah, I see you have registered mono white aggro as your top 8, so that'll be your deck the rest of the way through. You're feeling good about that?
Yeah, definitely. It's been the deck I've registered some version of mono white aggro every week of the tournament, but I've tweaked it every week based on kind of what I thought my opponents might bring, or knowing that people at this point have seen that I've registered mono white aggro every week and probably are going to counterplay that. So I'm happy with the list itself. I mean, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, so consistency it seems to be key. Do you have some sort of like pre-game like ritual or like a special like top 8 like like superstition, something you got to do, like wear your shoes on the wrong feet or something like that, or you have to make sure you eat cornflakes and strawberries for breakfast? I don't know, like what do you do? Is there some like big thing that you have that you like to do, the mantra that you have?
Most of what I've done, so most of my matches I listen to my favorite album while I'm playing them. I've been listening to Kate Bush's Hounds of Love pretty much every time that I log on to play my match, and I feel like that gets me in the mood because we're running up that hill. So yeah.
No, I like that you get your mind in the game, get into the zone and everything. That's fantastic. So feeling good going into the top 8, getting your groove on. Now, if you do make it through the top 8, top 4, win that finals, take it all down, what do you think you would want your token to be?
I think that it's the most basic one, but I feel like as a mono white aggro player, it's just a 1/1 white human, an Adeline token. Like, we're making them a lot. I play mono white in paper a lot. It would be very fun to have lots of little 1/1 white humans, I think. I know it's a very boring answer, but
no, listen, there is absolutely nothing boring about Adeline, first things first. And I mean, it's fantastic. It's to get your token to be anything on the VML. I think that's pretty awesome. I don't think there is a wrong answer here. So I think a 1/1 human token would be pretty sweet, if you ask me. But thank you so much again for joining us here this week, and best of luck to you in the top 8.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been so exciting, and I'm hopefully I'll get to play a couple more matches.
Ooh, and hopefully we'll have you back next season too.
Oh, you better believe it.
Right? You can't just do one. It's like they're like potato chips. So have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Interview with the Vampire. I, once again, am your Mistress of Midnight, Nicole Callahan, joined here also once again by the fabulous Zabracus. Zabracus, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm wonderful. It's the interview is so nice. I had to do it twice. It's so great to have you back. Right?
Exactly.
After that nail biter of a top 16 match that we all had the pleasure of watching, I had the pleasure of casting on Friday. Wow, what a match!
It was crazy.
Against Haiyue. It was insane. How do you feel after coming out on top there?
I'm still trying to process that. It was a really intense game with just so many decisions by both of us, and oh my gosh, it was just a lot. But I mean, I'm happy to be in the top 8, but it was crazy.
It's like you could take a big breath out, but then you gotta again, because it's deck submission time now for top 8, and I see you have submitted Dimir Control. Dimir Control, a little different than Orzhov. Like the Orzhov it's a mid-range deck, it's a control deck, it's a this is like straight control. Like, how do you feel? Like, this is it through the whole top 8. So you win your top 8 match, you move on to top 4. This is your committed deck. How do you feel?
I feel pretty good about it, actually. I did a lot of deck testing, just a lot of trying to figure out what the perfect cards are to be in the deck. A lot of looking at the other top 8 people's previous decks, their play styles, and a lot of predictions on what I think they would be playing and what types of decks I'd likely be up against in the top 8, since it is one deck for 3 potential matches.
Yes.
So I tuned it to beat aggro pretty easily, but I mean, if I don't draw well, it can still easily be overrun. But I also tried to make sure that there's plenty of cards in there to hold up well against an Izzet turns or Grixis turns or anything with Epiphany in it, really.
Right? Any other of those other blue decks. It's always a crapshoot.
Yes.
That's kind of how Magic works, right? Now, so speaking of
It's true.
testing and all this, everything, so what would you say your key to success, like to your path to the top 8? What has it been? Do you have like some sort of like ritual, some like superstition, like a personal like mantra? Is there something that you were like, listen, this week I've got to make sure I do XYZ again?
I mean, just each week I would look at who my opponent was, and if there was deck history, I'd look at deck history and look at what I'm comfortable playing and what I think could be a good counter to their deck or whatever, assuming that it was something I even liked playing. If I don't like playing something, I'm not going to play it. Like Izzet turns, not quite my favorite kind of deck. But during each match, to help me stay in the zone and hyped and focused and all of that, I just have music blaring on super loud around me, singing along to it. And if things get very intense, then I usually have a alcoholic beverage nearby to just hurry and calm my nerves again so that I can just zone in and focus on the task at hand.
I understand when you're doing the solitary karaoke thing. Sometimes it's better if you just like are holding a wine glass. Like, I get it. It's classy too. I like it. So, final question, have to ask. So, if you are able to battle through the top 8, top 4 finals, and you come out victorious, what do you think your token would be?
I don't know the type of token, but I feel like it has to have a corgi on it in some form or another.
Like
So.
you and Smee hanging out together, partying.
Yes. Yes. Maybe on top of like a treasure pile, maybe like a flying corgi vampire. I don't know.
Oh, like a blood token, and you guys partying at the wedding and stuff with blood token somewhere or something.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like fun
Something
to
like
me.
that.
As has this
I
interview.
agree.
This interview has also been a ton of fun, Zabracus. It was a pleasure to have you back. Best of luck to you in top 8, and looking forward to seeing more of you this week.
Yes. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Oh, you as well. Enjoy
Or
this
night.
eternal
I guess
night.
it's nighttime.
Eternal night. That's, you know.
Yes. Yes.
Bye.
And here is Zabracus's deck. Awesome to see her back in the interview chair, as it were, with you, Nicole. But I want to know from both of you, what do we think about bringing Dimir control to this top 8?
Ooh. It's definitely an interesting choice. It's very heavy on removals, so not as strong against the Izzet decks in game 1 when you're looking at, like 3 Meat Hook Massacre, a Path of Peril, and Blood on the Snow all in the main deck, things like that. But you could see the Dimir cuts down on that a little more than the Orzhov list that Zabracus had last week going into top 16. So I certainly like it better than the Orzhov, but it's definitely still very heavy on removal.
Yeah, I think I agree with you that you definitely see, Zabracus said needed something for mono white, right? Needed something for Epiphany, decided to go with this list, try to tune it for both. And if you look at the, actual deck list itself, you can, I think, very clearly see a demarcation of these cards are for aggro and these cards are for control. 3 wash away in the main, that's not for aggro. That's for Epiphany.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite. I read it. I was like, wash away. Wow. I don't think I've seen that yet in a main deck. So definitely an interesting build. I mean, like a lot of these like mid-range decks, it's a good like board possession deck. Like gets on the board. Sedgemoor Witch can spread out. Irmrith is a good threat to have singularly, so it can play a bunch of different games. It's going to be very interesting to see how she approaches now, and we do have to keep in mind that mono white and mono green were both very, very popular decks in the top 16. So coming into the top 8 with a deck like this is not like out of left field, because I'm sure Zabracus obviously did expect some amount of Izzet to be in the field, as well as some amount of mono white or mono green. There were 0 mono green decks, however, in our top 8. and only 2 mono white decks, and both of them were eliminated.
All right, let's have a look at Zabracus's opponent. It is Julie Izzette. Julie, true to the name, has decided to bring Izzet Epiphany to this top 8. It is a deck that can be prepared to beat anything, she says, and allows her to leverage her skills. And we know, of course, that Julie already won an Izzet Epiphany mirror in the quarterfinal round to get here. Any quick thoughts about Epiphany against Control, Beky?
I mean, it's weird because we're calling Zabracus's deck Control, but the amount of creatures that are in that deck that just say Ward, like there's Graveyard Trespasser, there's Sedgemoor Witch, there's Imarith, as well as like the Hullbreaker Horror doesn't have Ward, but you look at some of those other like 3-drop creatures that can just come onto the board and be difficult to get rid of. And I think that you're really getting to see what Zabracus was saying, and I wanted to fine tune a deck that would be good both versus Control as well as good versus aggro decks. And those Ward creatures are a great answer to those. So I think that Zabracus actually has, at least at first blush, done a good job of putting in creatures that would get around those taxing costs of the mono white deck, have okay bodies against the green decks, as well as Sedgemoor Witch being able to make a bunch of kind of little chump blockers in the form of those pests, as well as they all have Ward, so they're not going to be super easy for the Izzet Epiphany deck to deal with. So I like the decisions that we've seen Zabracus make. And normally if you told me, oh, is Dimir Controller Izzet Epiphany going to win? I say, I played the Dimir Control versus Izzet Epiphany matchup a bunch of times, and I thought that the Dimir Control deck was going to be good against it, but Izzet Epiphany is just so resilient. However, if you show me specifically Zabracus's deck against a normal Izzet Epiphany deck, which we see Julie Izzet kind of a normal in quotation marks, there's a few things that we can see that Julie has changed, but for the most part, it's like a lot of the other ones, whereas Zabracus is a very unique Dimir deck compared to a lot of the Dimir Control decks that we've seen. So I would kind of say that I think Zabracus has made a lot of the initial changes that I do think were needed to make to have the Dimir Control deck have a leg up in this matchup.
Okay, I think the players are just about ready in the feature match area. We can go down to our first live semifinals here between Zabracus and Julie Izzette. We are just gonna get the bums in the seats, get them comfortable. Make sure that the judges are prowling around the feature match area. get the decks shuffled up. We will be down there very shortly. Oh.
You said deck shuffled up and my brain was like, what?
I love pretending that like digital magic is the same as I just miss paper magic so much.
Yeah, and most of us who've played a lot of paper magic probably sit with a stack of paper cards on our desk somewhere that when we're thinking about a decision in an online match are sitting there shuffling in our hands because we're 100%. All fidgety like that.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
But I shuffle much better than the digital shuffler. I'm gonna just say that.
Oh my goodness, Nicole, are you a shuffler truther?
It is the truth. Where's my X-Files sound effect? It is the truth. I want to believe.
Oh my goodness. All right, we're ready. Here we go. We're going to be watching from Zabracus's perspective. Look at this beautiful full art Sorens. Why is he so why is he so sexy?
Okay, so I work for Ultra
I haven't
Pro,
seen this
and
art.
when we saw the Soren art, we at work just called him stupid sexy Soren. Non-stop. And I think that describes this Soren art, all of the Soren arts from this set, for what it's worth, perfectly.
Oh, right. So it is a couple of copies of Soren along with Wash Away Consider Vanishing Verse for Zabracus going up against Julie with Test, with July Disruption, with Thundering Rebuke, and copy of the namesake card, Aaron's Epiphany. So players potentially settling in for a bit of a long one here.
I mean, the only thing you needed to tell me for me to understand that it was going to be a long game is Control versus Control matchup.
I think there are two kinds of Magic players, right? The kind that sees Dimir versus Izzet and goes, "Ugh, I'm in for 50 minutes of doing nothing," and the other kind, hands up, guilty, myself included. He was like, "Yes, I want to talk about the tiny amounts of card advantage that are going to be generated on turn 75."
Just let me know when you decide to talk about the Soren art again, and I'll be here for that. All right.
I'm here for that
Oh my
anytime you
goodness.
want. You just give me a call, Nicole. I got you.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like we need to like set up some kind of horny jail for Nicole.
Right to jail.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Not one, but now 2 copies of Wash Away, and that's gonna feel good.
Yeah, the 2 washaways. You know, if this was going up against like the mono white decks, for example, we'd be like, this card is terrible. But Aaron's Epiphany already in Foretell for Julie, and multiple copies of Lier in the deck as well. So Wash Away is going to be pretty nice as Soren comes down and makes a 2/3 vampire with flying and lifelink.
2/3, very important against the Cinderclasm that is also in Julie's hand.
Does Thundering Rebuke hit Planeswalkers?
I believe
We're going to find out the answer, and the answer
does.
is yes.
Is yes.
it is. It absolutely does.
At the cost
Destroys.
of being a sorcery, it does hit Planeswalkers.
So Soren numero uno is down.
I'm curious because Julia did decide to foretell that all runs Epiphany, but knowing about the 3 copies of Wash Away in Zabracus's main deck, is it worth it to just not foretell it and not give that option of a cheap counter? You know, being able to hold up 1 blue is a lot different than being able to hold up 1 blue.
Certainly true, but it could be one of those things that if it could be that with the cards that were in hand at the time, Julie was thinking, oh, I'm going to need to, on the off chance, cast this for cheaper. So I'm going to go ahead and try to give myself that situation where maybe if there's no Wash Away in hand, I do get to cast it for cheaper. But based on how this has kind of ended up, is simply going to hold it out for a turn where potentially Zabracus can be empty or tapped out completely.
The Soren is doing a bunch of work here for Zabracus, drawing cards off the top. 3rd Soren, by the way, was found in hand.
I mean, Soren, if you were going to tell me Soren's really good against Izzet, I would have been like, But so far, absolutely fantastic. Makes a bunch of 2/3s that are resilient against Cinderclasm. On top of that, can't be divided by 0. So far, so good.
I'm a convert, and Nicole was already worshipping at the feet. we're all Soren fans now in the booth. Like, sign me up. I forget werewolves. I'm a vampire now.
Oh, I mean, I still love Arlen truly and dearly and always will. And feel similarly on the attractiveness scale to Arlen as I do to Soren.
That's true. Arlen, she's got that wild, rugged
she is
thing
wolf
going
mommy, so I'm gonna leave it at that.
Can you not say the words wolf mommy while I'm taking a sip of water, Becky?
I apologize, but that Wash Away proving
Nice.
its worth right there. No extra turns for Julie, at least not yet. And also just continuing to rack up the lifetime Siphon Insight.
Siphon Insight! What a card found off that Soren. I've been so impressed with Zabracus. Honestly, I played against her in that really intense quarterfinal last week. She played super well. She beat me. She came here and she has brought a really nice list. Aaron's Epiphany Part 2. Let's see if we can find a counterspell off the top of your deck, Julie. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's a good one.
I mean,
That's
you
a
put
good
them in
one.
your deck to see them, but you also put them in your opponent's deck to see them, you know? I mean,
Wow, that is so mean and a heartbreaker for Julie Izzette in game number 1. As Zabracus takes that down thanks to the hard work of Soren and Siphon Insight. Woof! Wow. Let's get these Mihawk maskers out of here.
I mean, in
I
the
had to
words,
check and
go for it, Nicole.
you know, I was saying I had to check and make sure that Zabracus, you know, like that I feel like Julie Izzette be checking Zabracus's list and be like, is that mine or is that yours? At Disdainful Stroke. Oh boy.
Ooh, wow. What a play. And so quick, like just immediately knew that she had to cast that Siphon Insight. Just incredible stuff. Great job there from Zabracus. And certainly a lot of support in the room for the awesome community member as well. Although I have to say, you know, you can never count Julie out in this kind of matchup. Incredibly experienced with Izzet decks, not only in this format, but in many other formats as well.
Not to mention that the Izzet deck is kind of decidedly the deck of this format. So on top of that, like, it's one of those things where you could come with like the coolest brew ready for whatever people are going to throw down the line. And sometimes just having this extremely resilient deck that somebody has not only gotten to play a ton of, but has also gotten to watch a bunch of different people show off all of the cool things that a deck like the Izzet deck can do, just has so much extra equity to it.
So let's get into game 2. Zabracus just has to win this one to advance to the grand finals. Julie has to complete the reverse sweep all the way from 0 games up to 2-1. Nice opening hand for Julie with Smoldering Egg, Galvanic Iteration, Thirst for Discovery, and Windfall. Zabracus thinking about this one, ultimately deciding to hold on to it. Double Pinchy in hand from the get-go.
Oh, the Meat Hook Massacre was not the draw that you want to see, but potentially just hoping to kind of use this Fading Hope and this Sedgemoor Witch as a little bit of a bridge to make this game go a little bit longer, and going to go ahead and use that Fading Hope to get that scry off of returning Smoldering Egg.
So Siphon Insight was the scry and the keep for Zabracus. Julie interested in getting this egg back on the battlefield. It's going to do a good job of holding the ground down, but also just being such an incredibly broken threat as soon as it flips and gets those counters.
Extremely huge indeed, and it looks like Zabracus is going to go ahead and also kind of just commit a big threat that gets more scary the longer it sits on the field.
Sedgemoor Witch hitting the battlefield for the first time tonight. 3-2 with Menace, and of course has Magecraft whenever you cast a copy, an instant, or sorcery. Make a 1/1 pest. We're going to see Julie use Thirst for Discovery first. Maybe looking for lands here, Nicole.
Yeah, not really having too much luck either. So going to have to ship away a Galvanic Iteration and get a little bit of value off of it, but it looks like a Smoldering Egg also going to bite the dust there, needing to keep cards like Behold the Multiverse to catch back up, hopefully on some card advantage. But on Zabracus' side, that Leer off the Siphon Insight is a pretty good hit. With a Fading Hope, you know, Fading Hope and Leer, name a more iconic couple. Because I don't think there is one.
Nicole and
wait,
Soren.
okay. You win. You win.
Solid. Oh, we're gonna see Siphon Insight once again taking a look at the top of Julia's library. Julie just stuck with all of these cards in hand. Does have a Cinderclasm to take care of the Witch and the 1/1 and put some counters on the egg. So not doing a bad job here, Julie, of keeping the the force at bay from Zabracus' side of the battlefield.
I think, yeah, it is probably just the right call to pick up this Cinderclasm and then just cast it. Do we have a land that we can play? No. Okay, never mind. I thought we were on our turn for some reason, but we were on Julie Izzette's turn. So feel differently about this decision, but Cinderclasm still probably not the worst thing to pick up. And this Meat Hook Massacre potentially going to be something that is pretty important, actually, even though it initially looked a little bit unsavory when we first drew it.
I have to say, oh, there's the fourth land finally for Julie. Graveyard Trespasser. This card, I think, is close to... I mean, it doesn't really have the shell necessarily to be in the most busted deck in Standard, but I think Graveyard Trespasser is, like, secretly one of the most powerful cards in the whole format. It just does so much.
It's true. I feel like every time I read Graveyard Trespasser, it does something new.
It just has more ability.
It just has more text. Like, I was watching someone play a match and they were like, oh, when it flips, I get to exile 2 cards. So I'll get to exile the last 2 cards out of their graveyard. And I was like, huh? You do 2? I mean, I guess it makes sense. Like, you flip, you should do more things. But also, what the heck?
Yeah, move
There
over
are a
Questing
lot of cards.
Beast. There's a
Yes.
new, like, multi-volume drama in town.
This one has chapters.
It does. It has a front and a backside.
It does. Behold the multiverse, finding a couple of very needed land drops here for Julie. Finds a Speckled Hazard, finds the island, deciding whether or not to attack with the Ashmouth Dragon is in fact just going to pass it back. Oh my goodness, what a draw! What a draw! Fading Hope for Zabracus and Julie is tapped out, unable to use the dragon, and it's gonna have to start again from 0 with those counters, Nicole.
Yeah, and now Graveyard Trespasser are going to start eating away at the graveyard as well, which makes Lear just a little bit worse each time. So that was quite a hit on the side of Zabracus. And also not needing to use that Meat Hook Massacre, because having to use the Meat Hook Massacre to kill the dragon feels really bad when you're killing your own Graveyard Trespasser as well.
Very
For
true.
sure. So we are going to see that egg get replayed. Like, we've had a bit of a time rewind. It's back to its embryonic form.
All right, let's continue to chomp this graveyard here.
So Beky, if you're Julie, like, what does the path to recovery look like in this game?
It's hard because you're trying to balance answering what Zabracus has as well as continue to draw cards / make land drops. Normally in like in a control matchup, you are looking to do as much land pass as possible. And this is again the strength of Zabracus's ward creatures is they make it a lot harder for you to do one answer and then just wait to react again, because it's eating up some of your card advantage as well. So Julie needs both more cards in hand to pay for a lot of these ward creatures and get through some of that card advantage, as well as making land drops. And right now, I would say the priority is making land drops. 13 is maybe a little worse for wear, but not too bad. But if we can get to like 2 more land drops and cast that mascot exhibition, we're starting to look like we're in just a slowly better and better place. And I think that at this point in the game, you just have to take it one step at a time.
So we saw something pretty interesting happen there, which is that Zabracus tried to use that stolen Cinderclasm to finish off the egg, and Julie used Divide by 0. But of course, Julie was the owner of that Cinderclasm, and she returned it back to Julie's hand. So a pretty fun little interaction there. And Julie now with 1 billion cards in hand, of course, Meat Hook Massacre was able to kill that egg in the end after all. But a nice little, you know, no, it's mine. I will have this card back. Thank you very much.
And with that card back, we can copy it and take care of 4 toughness, worth of creatures. And that does equate to that Graveyard Trespasser without having to pay that ward cost, which is quite important.
Now, Julie's going to see the bad news of the second card stolen. That is Leah, Disciple of the Drowned, belonging, of course, to Julie Izzette. Fading Hope's ready in the graveyard to protect it. Though, of course, I guess Fading Hope would run into a similar problem with
yeah, that's
with
very
the
true.
old the divide. So Julie now kind of almost stable. Doesn't know about the double Hullbreaker Horror that have been there since the opening hand.
I mean, if Zabracus just continues to miss out on land drops, those might not end up being as important as we would like to think they are. And they're really, like, sure, one more land drop would be enough for us to cast a Hullbreaker Horror, but most of the time you're looking to play Hullbreaker Horror and have a 1-mana spell as a follow-up to it. So we're trying to get to that point, and at least this Test of Talents is not a land to be able to cast the Hullbreaker Horror, but it's slowly but surely getting us to a place where we're at least okay with the cards that are in our hand and not feeling like we're stuck in a situation where I can't cast these 7-mana spells when I have 6 lands in play.
So we're going to see something quite interesting happen, which is that Julie, I think, are waiting for the end step here. Gonna try and get a double windfall going. Zabracus has drawn Test of Talents for the turn. It cannot counter anything because of the air. Hopefully Zabracus knows. Did figure it out.
Luckily,
so
Arena makes it a little easier to notice that
That's
too.
true. Do you know, honestly, if I were playing these decks in paper, I would
I would snap try to counter it every single time.
So many things. It would be so embarrassing.
So many of us would.
Yeah. So it's just gonna does have that consider up. Oh no.
Oh, going to Test of Talents.
Test of Talents, the windfall. But it does get rid of the ones from the graveyard.
ones.
So
Yeah.
so
Doesn't
even
counter
though
the
it
one
can't counter it, it does get rid of the other 3 copies. Test
Thankfully,
of Talents
there's a
really
period.
not doing anything else anyway while the air is down. But now, Julie Izzette, having been kind of on the ropes for a game and, you know, a game and a third, a game and a half of a game, untapping with lots of mana. I'm gonna let our professional analyst do the maths for me.
11.
Beky.
11.
Nicole, come on. Help
Apollo?
I can be. Yeah, Apollo is actually
Apollo.
the master mathematician, not me. I still think 1 + 1 + 1 = 7. You know, so.
Oh my goodness.
You know, I gotta get the Tron jokes in where I can get them.
Why are you the way you are?
Why are any of us the way we are?
That is gonna continue to not work.
But it can get rid of all of the other ones yet again. So
How many divides are in the graveyard? Okay. Yeah, get the others. Okay. All right. So Test of Talents hasn't been totally useless here for Zabracus because those are some of the most problematic cards, right? Like Unexpected Windfall, Divide by 0. They are problems. They are probably some of the scariest cards that you see on the other side.
For sure. And now we're looking at like what kind of answers Julie Izzette can have for Hullbreaker Horror as the time has arrived for Monsieur Le Pinchy.
True.
Ooh. Okay, so double Hullbreaker Horror in hand for Zab. Consider is somewhere in that mix. Julie has so many cards available to her that it's actually almost impossible to tell what all of them are.
But
Gonna
starting
start off
strong.
Yeah. Let's get this board full of tokens first.
All right, let's see Lear coming in here. Zabracus is at 23 life too, and Julie Izzette is at 9. So
Yeah. 1 Hullbreaker Horror isn't enough to do that last bit of damage, and we don't have a creature land on our side. But
What about this though? Consider into Behold in the end step for Zabracus. Nice bit of card advantage if she can get it. Of course, Julie is just working with so many resources now in this game too.
ooh. We do have a white source to play this Vanishing Verse if we wanted to keep it as something Okay, we want to keep both of them. I like that. I like having the lands as well as now. Well, an important spell that we're going to go ahead and use, but trying to get as many things off of the board so that Hullbreaker Horror can wreak as much hull-breaking havoc as possible.
Hull-breaking havoc. I love it. Vanishing Verse says, at the very least, Leah, you have to go back to hand.
Yeah, so Julie is going to cast a Windfall from the graveyard. It looks like here, kind of do a little bit of digging, see if Lear can come back to hand.
Is there a divide?
There are a lot of cards.
I thought there was a divide by 0 in the graveyard, but I could be wrong.
They were Test of Talents. It.
Right, but there was one on the
Well,
stack,
there was one on
right?
the stack.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. You are correct. There was the one on the stack that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
whoa.
we do see... Oh, Malevolent Hermit.
Did Lear just get exiled by the Vanishing Verse, actually?
There is another Lear in hand, so...
Okay. We think that that's the one.
That could be the one.
Things happened very quickly. I'm not sure where things went.
That's fair. And Malevolent Hermit hitting the battlefield instead of Hullbreaker Horror. You gotta give it to Zabracus. She has been so patient
Ooh.
with these Hullbreaker Horrors.
Extremely.
Like, I bet you if you asked Julie, is that what she thought Zabracus had in hand, it would not be Hullbreaker Horror ×2.
But not too bad to have the Hermit targeted there, except for that we do have a blue source. We could have played it, but I think holding up the blue source to potentially represent some kind of counterspell is the reason that we haven't done that for Zabracus this turn.
So it is going to be the attack in with the exhibition. Here comes Leah, and I believe actually that this was the second Leah because one of them got stolen with Siphon Insight and returned, and then this is the other one.
Okay. I'm in agreement.
And now it's showtime again. Look at all these.
What's in
look at all
our
these-
graveyard?
This is great. I'm so happy right now. I'm like, yes, Leah versus Leah. Let's face off. This is great. This is how Magic should be. Forget Thalia.
No. Please keep Thalia. Please. Keep this in check a little bit. Yeah, I know. That's how I feel too, Apollo.
So now Zabracus has to be, thinking, how do I not just die in the next couple of turns?
That is certainly the question. We're able to hopefully answer Lear number 2.
Yeah. Did he thinking about maybe spiking face from Graveyard? With that one treasure remaining. Still has an absolutely huge board after this Leah goes away.
Did Spikefield face, I believe.
Oh,
which...
love it.
I like it.
Love it.
Upstairs.
Okay, here we
Which
go.
is
Untap.
kind of a good decision because the Fading Hope can get rid of one of the 4/4s, but then the remaining creatures, even if Lear blocks a 4/4, is still 10 damage exactly.
Perfect. So, there is a Demon Bolt as well.
Well, there's
going
also
at
that,
the
yeah.
Leah. And that is just bit by bit, inch by inch, Julie really making it through this game, getting rid of that last blocker, taking it down, and we are going to a deciding game here. It's going down to the wire in our first semifinal of the evening.
Wow.
Intense.
So I have to ask, because now in Zabracus's opening hand, she had double Hullbreaker Horror, and she ended that game with 2 cards in hand, and it was double Hullbreaker Horror. Do you think she's going to reevaluate? Do you think it's just nothing lined up correctly to actually cast them?
She missed some land drops, right? Did she
A
miss
lot.
She missed some land drops in the middle, so
Yeah.
She did.
But even still, Hullbreaker Horror I think 1 is hard enough to keep. I think you're only playing 2 in the deck because you don't like to see them in your opening hand. You want to see them like later into the game after you've drawn some cards. I do think it might have been one of those decisions where you're like, I like all the other cards in my hand, so I want to keep this double Hullbreaker Horror hand, but it does really end up kind of gumming up your hand, especially when you're not like the Izzet deck and you can't play something like those Unexpected Windfalls and discard them to draw new cards.
So we see Zabracus locking it in. Judy, just taking a little moment to reconsider, having a little think about the exact configuration of the cards in the deck. We are going to game number 3. This one for all the marbles, or at least for entry into the grand finals here tonight. And one of my favorite cards out of Midnight Hunt that just hasn't had its day in the sun, Nicole. Suspicious Stowaway, 2 copies in the opener for Zabracus. Let's go. Let's draw some cards.
Why is the back green?
I don't know. Why is there a werewolf in the sea? Why is the front blue? Why is the back green?
It's suspicious.
Because a human can be blue, a werewolf can't be blue. That's the reasoning.
Okay, so it's not like a water type werewolf.
No, I don't think so. It's not a Vaporeon.
Because
It's
there
a
was
human rogue werewolf.
but there was a water type vampire, so I feel
fair.
like it's all,
Yeah.
everything's fair
Runo
game
Stormcrick.
now.
Runo Stormcrick, who turns into a Kraken for some reason.
Yeah, I've the flavor on. I'm gonna need like a flavor judge to explain that to me. Suspicious Stowaway down on the battlefield, but Julie Izzette has the Spikefield Hazard ready to answer it. Is she gonna go for it though?
I mean, I feel like you kind of have to. That creature gets a little too scary if it stays onto the field, but at least it still being a 2/1 means that you can still answer it on the backside. But thankfully, off of that draw / also being able to get some extra cards from this now flipped green werewolf, we get to find some more lands and play a second 2/1. That'll draw some more cards.
Julie has that Galvanic Iteration ready to go.
Julie definitely relieved to draw a third untapped land there.
Yeah, for sure.
Not needing to play that Spikefield Hazard as a third land, which would have prevented what is about to happen.
Ooh, but at least this Fading Hope can rescue one of our little wolfies.
Yeah, the other one does get sent to the Exile Zone. It is now day since 2 spells were cast on the previous turn, so Zabracus can get this Stowaway back down on the battlefield, but it just doesn't look as good on turn number 4 as it did on turn numbers 2 and 3.
That's fair, but always having one of them on the field that like kind of needs to be answered, or it's going to be very annoying for Julie to have to deal with the simple amount of card advantage later. Makes a lot of sense that we're just still going to go ahead and jam it. And this Behold the Multiverse on main phase is going to tell Zabracus a ton about what is in hand. And I like going ahead and taking care of this right now.
Oh my goodness, getting the second copy from hand as well as that crucial information. What a blow here in turn number 4. Zabracus saying, no, you cannot draw cards. Luckily for Julie, found a land off that kind of compensation draw.
I was going to say, yeah, at least the silver lining in that situation has to be that you get to draw a new card and you just hope that it's a land. And luckily for Julie, it was in the form of the Jawari Ruin.
The front side of Suspicious Stowaway, just going to do some looting. Is it a werewolf pirate? Oh my god, I want it to be a werewolf pirate someone
I think
so
it
much.
is.
Can
It's
someone...
a human rogue. Oh, the backside?
No,
I mean,
it's
it's
not
a
a werewolf
human-
pirate.
Yeah,
Someone
it's a
give me,
human
someone
rogue
make me a
werewolf.
werewolf pirate, please.
Is there not a werewolf pirate? There should be.
There should be. Wizards, if you're watching this, we demand a werewolf pirate.
We demand a werewolf pirate.
You already made a blue-green one. Make it a pirate.
Exactly,
I
just
mean-
go all the way.
Like they made a goblin monkey pirate, right?
True,
Triangle
yeah.
Firebrand.
Yep.
Like that's one less creature type. Just be a...
So, unexpected windfall. Did she? Oh my goodness. Can Julie just find some lands, please?
Oh.
Yikes.
Has an egg now, plus some treasures. But this graveyard trespasser is just gonna start tearing both the life total and the resources in the graveyard apart for, you know, on the attack.
Those are some resources in the yard that with this Leer in hand, Julie, I'm sure would love to have.
Second graveyard trespasser? Yes, please.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking that that is a great addition to the squad. I personally would be eating this Hullbreaker Horror as fast as you can say Monsieur Lipinchi, but
So medium speed eating.
yeah, medium speed eating, but that would be my personal pick. I would be so plagued by having 2 remaining Hullbreaker Horrors in my hand from the game before that I would just be like, I'm at 5 lands right now. And I don't have more lands in hand, so get them out of here, send them to the yard, and let's live the rest of our life with these cheaper spells. Thank you.
Yeah, great decision there. I think I agree with you, Becky. As much as I love Monsieur Lipinchi, I think that we all do. But you know, it's just hard. And Julie really was looking for an untapped land there to be able to do something like play the Leer and Demon Bolt that 4/4. Given that Ward would not be active with Leer on the battlefield, but does not find the land to enable that.
Yeah, we could play Leer with a treasure, and I think there is a 1-mana spell in our yard that we could cast with the other treasure. I believe it is just the Spikefield Hazard. We don't have something like a Fading Hope, which would be the ideal thing to have so that we could immediately answer the Graveyard Trespasser, but just simply not the case right now. But it looks like just getting something onto the board to block and also get a second spell, True Transform these werewolves back, is worth something to Julie.
Yeah, I mean, this is not nothing, right? Spikefield has it on the 2/1. Obviously, Julie doesn't know that there's a Fading Hope in hand. It's questionable as to Zabracus, whether Zabracus even uses it. What a draw. This is what I want. All that I want in my life is to cast card draw spells and find more card draw spells off them.
I personally would like to see a land if I was Zabracus, but I mean, we can draw that one for turn, and that's okay as well.
You're gonna see like 5 more cards. Oh, okay.
Oh.
Bounce the Leer back to hand.
I think that the game plan in Zabracus's eyes is Julie is stuck on lands, and so just trying to keep Julie's life total in jeopardy for as long and as low as possible is the new game plan.
More, which potentially a good part of that game plan as well, combos super well with cards like Consider, these 1-mana cantrips that can help you select your cards and also give you a little bit of advantage. No fifth land yet again.
Oh, very difficult to block Sedgemoor Wish as well with Menace. So in a deck like Izzet, where they have sort of standalone threats, just one Leer on the battlefield, one dragon on the battlefield, Sedgemoor Witch hard to combat here, especially at 10 life, needing to pay a ward of 3 life to remove it.
So we have seen these Izzet decks. I mean, most spectacularly, I think, in the quarterfinals that we just had. We have seen them cling on and come back from what it felt like were very scary situations. Oh, Meet Hook Massacre, the draw for Zabracus. Sorin, also the find. It just feels like this might not end up being one of those games for Julie, because she really, really needed to get that mana production going, and it's just unfortunately not been able to find it. We're going to start exiling creatures from the graveyard now for Zabracus, get that burn effect going on the Trespasser.
Darn, if we had like one...
teasing with that Soren there.
I
Thought
yeah.
Soren was coming down.
I
was ready for it.
I'm
I was
also
gonna be like, oh, Daddy's home. No. Nope.
Oh,
Zabracus.
goodness. You're right. Nicole does need a little horny jail right now.
Zabracus with the tease. But
Oh my
in a very
goodness.
good position, playing a second graveyard trespasser there. It was probably the right play. Was it the fun play? No. Was it the right play? Probably.
Could
And,
maybe just play like a naked meat hook massacre here as well.
I was kind of just thinking the same thing. Just something that says, even if you're gonna clear my creatures, you're gonna take damage for it. Even we're close to just like being able to wipe the board with the Meat Hook Massacre and have that just be enough damage to end the game.
That's true. I mean, Meat Hook Massacre does say whenever one of your creatures dies, your opponent loses a life. By my count, Julie's pretty close to that happening.
Close. Yep.
Pretty close indeed. We are going to untap though, back over to Julie's turn. There's a Liam available to come down. There's a 5th land. Finally. Julie can flip both of these eggs this turn, Beky.
Oh, I mean, it's kind of a step, and then some of those Ashmouth dragons can start kind of just like dealing some damage to these creatures. But again, these ward creatures are just very difficult, especially the Sedgemoor Witch that says pay 3 life. You're at 6. You can only pay that like once, and it's starting to really hurt.
Okay, well, we're going to see Julie be pretty proactive here with the Demon Bolt. You got to get rid of these graveyard trespassers. They will just kill you, right? Like, at some point.
They're literally about to. They're certainly trying.
Both eggs flip. Or discard a card. Discard a precious land.
They are precious. We've missed a lot of those.
Oh my goodness. And you know, it really, this is the key moment, right? These are the key turns here for Julie Izzette in the deciding game, because if she can somehow survive the next few turns, make some more land drops, get Leia down with a full graveyard of spells to recast, we could see her making her way back into this game. And Zabracus really needs to just find some way of just slamming the door shut on that. Is it going to be Meat Hook Massacre X4 here?
It might be. I mean, if we attack with all and then Meat Hook Massacre, that is enough damage if I'm not missing something.
It, right? Because the witch has
3 damage
menace.
would get through, but 2 creatures would die in combat, so wouldn't get the meat hook.
Oh,
Right.
you're totally right. You're totally right.
True. So not a lot of, I mean, a lot of, all the options are kind of variously quite bad. Are there any creatures to burn out in the graveyard? I don't think.
In our graveyard there were, but we didn't pick from
Okay.
our graveyard.
Meat Hook Massacre also makes a token. Does that change things? So I think Zabracus had to exile the creature, right?
Yeah. Zabracus would have had to exile a creature from her own graveyard, would have to eat like the Trespasser or something to bring Julie down to 5. Then 3 damage would get across, bringing down to 2. And then the Meat Hook Massacre would be cast.
Oh, it doesn't make a token.
It's
not. It's instant or sorcery. It's not a Young Paradise.
Oh, sorry. No,
it's not monumental.
But it would still be.
Wait, what's happening?
Oh.
Magecraft.
Wait.
Oh, we're so worried about this Sedgemoor Witch. That it is
Double
be
block
enough.
on the Sedgemoor Witch. Judy is going to go to 2, and Meat Hook Massacre is going to clear this one out. That is going to be the last 2 points of damage. Oh my goodness. What a last turn there from Zabracus. Congratulations. And it is Zabracus that is going through to our grand finals. Extremely well played there, taking it down against Izzet Epiphany with Dimir control. Wow. What a final game,
was
Nicole.
super impressive. Very well played. I feel like in a lot of post-board games, a lot of the sweepers fall off of Izzet's radar, where they think, you know, Path Peril's bad against, you know, but even just like we had talked about during the game, sometimes playing a Meat Hook Massacre on 0, just as a every time you Demon Bolt one of my creatures, every time you cast a Cinderclasm, you're going to take a little more damage. So keeping the Meat Hook in and being able to cross the finish line with it. So very well done to both of our players, but congratulations to Zabracus for moving on to the finals.
Absolutely. Congratulations. All right, so that is our first semi-final match. What a match it was. We are going to go to a break, but before we do, we are unfortunately going to say goodbye to our awesome filling in the sandwich of today's booth. Beky Bell, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an awesome season, obviously.
It has.
Beky,
One of the best. I mean, they've all been great, but this season has been big for us, big for the community, big for everyone who's been watching us. So really appreciate it.
And also, I have to say, I think this season we have seen some of the best gameplay, like best actual, factual, technical, strategic play that we've ever seen on the VML. So mad props to everybody in the community for that. Thank you, Beky. We will send you on your way. Nicole and I are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we will be setting up for that second live semi-final match between Leina and Arya. Do not miss that. We will see you very shortly. Hello, my friends. Welcome back after that first semi-final. Oh my goodness. Congratulations to Zab. And we are back here, ready in our seats, ready to watch some more semi-final action.
Yeah, we have half of our finals already. So like you said, Zabracus is moving on. We need to find out who our other competitor will be to battle it out for that set championship invite. A chunk of the a good chunk of the $3,500 prize pool, and among other things. So we see Zabracus there moving on, and our other top 4 is Leina versus Arya Karamchandani, who we had the pleasure of watching earlier tonight on Izzet Epiphany, and this will be an Izzet Epiphany mirror.
Yeah, Zabracus, our first grand finalist in season 6 of the VML, and she's going to be sitting there kind of watching this second semi-final, just, you know, trying to gauge, I guess, a little bit of how each of these players are playing.
Well, if it goes anything like her last, the semi-final match, she should be very, very comfortable. So she played very well. She spaced out her threats very well, and went to a very close 3 games, but was able to come out on top. So having defeated Izzet already once, probably feeling pretty good knowing that you're facing against an Izzet competitor here.
All right, we are going to go back into the video archive a little bit, Nicole, and just back to your top 8 interviews. And we are going to hear now from Leina, who is going to be our 4th semi-finalist that we have not heard from yet today. So let's see what Leina had to say to you earlier this week.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Interview with the Vampire. I, once again, am your mistress of midnight, Nicole Callahan, joined here also once again by the fabulous Leina. Leina, how are you doing tonight? Welcome back. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Interview with the Vampire. I once again am your mistress of midnight, Nicole Callahan, joined here also once again by the fabulous Leina. Leina, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm gonna try to gamble and see if I turn this way. Do I face you? I do. Yes.
You did it.
Hello.
We can have a nice like face to face here.
Yeah.
That's all right. You can talk this way. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Talk to my window, and have just replay the balcony scene. That's from Romeo and Juliet. That's
right.
yeah.
And you know what? It is the eternal night. I think that is incredibly appropriate. Still the eternal night, because the last time you were here, it was still nighttime. Had you here a few weeks ago, things seem to have been going well, because here you are in top 8, battling for that crown. Now, tell me, you're bringing Izzet turns this week. How do you feel?
To be honest, not super great. I'm on the I'm the last seed. I'm on the draw every match, so I knew like my odds were kind of against me. I like went and like kind of figured out what everyone was gonna play and guessed like with pretty good certainty 6 out of the 8 players what they were gonna bring, and like unsure of the other 2. And was just thinking of like, okay, given I'm probably gonna face this in the quarters, this in the semis, this in the finals, like what should I do? And I just went with the best deck. I know that my rate in the mirror matches in the VML have not been super great, but I figured it's still my best chance. Like I think any other deck would have been like shooting myself in the foot at least in one of those 3 rounds. So I'm just gonna hope that I draw well, play well, my mind's gonna be clear, and that I concentrate and make good plays. Like this. I think that's the most you can do sometimes. So yeah, ultimately I'm happy to be here, happy to cash. It's my first VML. I was great. I think for expectation for myself was making playoffs. So even being here at this point, my first PTQ top 8 effectively, it feels really nice to be here. So just looking for some good matches. Like honestly, it's all I'm looking for. Just some good matches. All I want is to not really regret anything, like make any serious punts and just feel really bad about it afterwards. I just want to try to play tight. And if I lose, I lose, Like I'm not going to be super torn about it. So.
Oh, no, never. And Leina, we are just super happy to have you here. And putting your best foot forward with the best deck in the format can't be a bad thing. It's definitely a good place to start. Now, I need to know. So before you get ready, you're playing your top 8 match. You're getting yourself all prepped. What do you like to do before? Do you have like a superstition or like a sort of like pre-game ritual you got to do? Maybe get your head in the game, or is there something that you do?
Yeah, I think before matches I tend to get nervous. So I want to make sure I've eaten and I'm hydrated and all this stuff. And I also try to make sure I'm dressed well and like that the room is warm and stuff. So I feel, but something else I do, which is totally unnecessary sometimes, but I like to fire up a match before the round if I have a chance, and I really like to play matches in the best of 1 play ladder, like not even ranked, just play. And part of the point is so that I can just kind of relearn how my deck works, like just kind of have a warm up, but also so that I can maybe like curb stomp some easy competition. Which sometimes that happens, sometimes I lose, it's fine, but like the key is to just be like, oh right, like my deck operates like this on turns 2, 3, 4 through 6, and so it's more about that, but like having an easy win also like feels good as you head into the actual match. And yeah, I mean,
I like the game on easy mode, the self hype, get yourself going, get the blood pumping, get yourself worked up, ready to go.
Sometimes also happens where it's like sometimes something unique happens in the play ladders, because like people play stuff that you don't know before. So sometimes you just like learn things you didn't know your deck could do.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's also like a better grounds for finding out things like that than like typical ranked might be.
That's so fun. And now, last question for the evening. If you do take down the rest of this tournament, what would your token be?
Yeah, I was thinking of treasures, thinking of blood, but I think I might go with construct. I think I've been seeing a lot of Urza Saga constructs. I've been seeing a lot of Karn constructs. Urza Saga construct, Urza constructs. Just would be nice to be in like a Gundam, and that sounds pretty cool to me. So yeah, I'm in for being a construct.
Cool too. Oh, I love that. That's a
Yeah, XX construct dies to dress down, so whatever that means, don't think about it that hard. And then
we're vampires.
yeah.
We don't dress down. All right.
I like collecting things, I guess, and grow big from collecting things. I guess that's the flavor of the construct. So
I love it. The flavor, the background. Well, thank you, Leina, so much for your time again tonight, and best of luck to you the rest of top 8.
thank you.
Enjoy the rest of the Eternal Night.
Yeah, and good luck to everybody else too.
Now we are going to take a look at Leina's deck list. So, Nicole, it is
And
again.
Leina's kitty.
And very important, Leina's kitty. We've seen Izzet lists. We saw Arya and we saw Julie both play their Izzet list today. This version that Leina has brought is a little bit different, right? I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but we are it is an Izzet. It plays Epiphany, it plays Galvanic Iteration, but there are no copies of Lier in this list, and instead Leina's kind of gone for like the hard, full-on 0 creatures in the main approach. How do you feel about that?
No creatures to be found. I feel a bit better in the mirror, especially on game 1, when your opponent has all these, still has Thundering Rebukes or Demon Bolts and things like that in the main deck. They're just dead cards, really. There's no Lier for them to target. There's no dragons. There's no anything. So game 1, I kind of like that a lot. We will see in the sideboard that Leina does have 3 copies of Smoldering Egg, 2 copies of Goldspan Dragon, and 1 Hullbreaker Horror as well. So really just nowhere to point any sort of removal, though, that might add up in your opponent's hand in game 1, except that maybe some like 1/1 birds, or very difficult to kill a Hall of Storm Giants with damage spells, especially with that ward on it. So I kind of like it here, though, going into game 1 in an Izzet mirror.
Okay. And let's have a look at Arya's deck list once again. We've seen it before today, so we'll just have a brief reminder for ourselves. Is playing the Liers. She has brought those. She has brought a Thirst for Discovery, which is a card that we haven't been seeing in these lists. But honestly, when I see Arya Caster, I'm like, why haven't we been seeing this card in these lists? It seems so good.
Right, it definitely does. It looks a lot deeper than so to be able to draw 3 cards and ensure that you're making your land drops. That's the most important thing that Izzet wants to do. Is it wants to make every land drop. They want to drag each game out, because they don't win until turn 15 or so. It takes a little while to get there. They get there, but they need the tools to be able to make it to that late game. And Thirst of Discovery is one of those cards that will help them make that end game happen.
Yeah, okay. Let's find out whether our players are ready to get into the action, because it's time to find out who is going to be meeting Zabracus in the grand finals. Is it going to be Arya? Is it going to be Leina? It's an Izzet mirror. We are not surprised to see at least one Izzet mirror in the top 8. Let's go down to the action if we can and see who comes out on top of this one. I think we are almost ready to go.
And now, interestingly here, now remember, this is Leina's first VML. This is Leina's first top 8. And Arya has, not only is this not their first VML, they've been to the winner's circle twice. So once for the one shot and once for the regular season. So it's definitely daunting, but I kind of like the up and coming,
that's the storyline, like first time challenging underdog. The established champion. Yeah, I'm down. Let's find out whether Arya's gonna come. I mean, I just keep thinking back to that last game between Arya and Ailsa, and just the tenacity of Arya to hang in turn after turn, just clinging on by the tiniest amount that she can hold on to. and then ultimately coming out in the end on top with that one turn, killing Ailsa from 14. So let's hopefully we'll get to see some Izzet mirror action very shortly. The two players, I think, just getting ready, opening their deck boxes, presenting their decks to each other. I'm gonna keep on with this fantasy. Yeah, I'm gonna keep on with this fantasy as long as you'll let me, Nicole.
All right, I'm gonna ask you two to just put your decks back in your boxes and hand them over.
Oh,
and we'll
my
be
goodness.
Right back.
Your heart just sinks when someone says that. The judge comes up to you.
I hated it. I tend to play fast decks, so I actually hated it because I knew that meant that I was probably going to time that round or like going to get close to time. And I'm like, no, I'm the burn player. I'm the one that's supposed to go get snacks. Like that's my responsibility between rounds here. You don't understand.
Yeah, for those of us who like to take slow decks to tournaments, which, by the way, I would not recommend. So the first constructed GP I ever went to, which was the second GP I ever went to, I took blue-white, like win conditionless control. Like I literally, I kid you not, took that blue-white deck with Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, that didn't have any win conditions.
I could see you skipping into the hall, like stars in your eyes.
Yeah, and then literally, I was paired against one of the friends in round one, right? Like a friend that I had traveled there with, right? He was on blue-white flash. I don't know if you even remember this deck, but it was like it played like Wrath Capuchin Ship's Mage, and like he would like flash in these legends. Oh my god, it was a nightmare. Anyway, don't take blue-eye control to a GP. That's my advice.
No, the thing is, if you take blue-eye control to GPs, you have to take a friend who plays burn. That's how Jim and I work out.
Oh, I see.
Blue-eye control, I play burn, I get the snacks.
Okay.
So, and the water bottles.
So we are going down to the action. We're going to be watching from the point of view of Leina, who is opening with Galvanic Iteration, Divide, and Double Spikefield going up against Divide, Behold, and Windfall. So just on the judging by these very opening hands, we see a lot of card advantage for Arya here, to start out with.
Yeah, for sure. And what both players want to see, they're making at least 4 land drops. And that's what both of our players want to do because like I said, they're not counting on anything happening here in turns 2 and 3 and not really even in 4. Nobody's going to really do anything. It's kind of like a stare down, like who's going to make the first move here? Who's going to cast that first iteration? And it looks like it's not going to be Leina.
Doing things is so overrated. Doing things is so overrated. I'm fully in favor of not doing things.
Draw, land, go.
I've been kind of opening up the stream earlier in the day, sometimes like opening up Twitch and seeing Waffa Tappa, who I have talked about many times before because I'm literally obsessed. And he is, for those of you who don't know Guillaume Waffa Tappa, one of the best control players of all time. And if you watch him play modern blue-white control, you would just... I just don't understand anything. He doesn't do anything. He literally will just not do anything. Every time I think you should counter this or you should remove this or whatever, he just doesn't do it. And then 10 minutes later, he has 7 cards in hand, his opponent has nothing, and he wins the game. I'm like, how did he get that?
I love the call it deliberate players.
Deliberate, yeah. That's what they say.
But I feel like they'll clutch onto that, that cancel, that dissolve, like forever. You'll be like, you're at 3 life, bolt you. And they'll go, wait 1 second, I gotta think.
But yeah.
And it's just like, what is it? You're at 3, right?
Well, what if there's a way around it? What if there's a way you don't have to use your 7th card to save you from dying? But it does come with a bit of that, like, don't try this at home. Like tag, right? Like
disclaimers.
A disclaimer. I've been in that spot. I've been like, yeah, today I'm gonna be Waffa Tappa. I'm gonna not do anything. And then I just die on turn 4.
No, this is definitely a Waffa Tappa wap off here. Like, this is just two players staring each other down. One casts an unexpected windfall, discarding a card. The other one, saying, maybe, I don't know. I'm gonna cast my own unexpected windfall.
Like,
and
let's
divide by
just
zero
divide.
that.
Yeah, let's revisit this later. We'll divide it for now. I mean, Arya is ahead, right? Like, Arya is now out ahead a little bit, just getting the tip of the snout in front. With that extra treasure on the battlefield, having got a mascot exhibition already. But there's a long way to go yet. Double expressive iteration in the hand for Leina. Divide by zero, unexpected windfall. Here's double windfall, and this is a huge turn for Leina, tapping out to do this, and absolutely the right thing to do. Going to just straight up resolve 2 unexpected windfalls, and unfortunately draw 4 lands.
Yes, and 4 lands off of that, which is like a win-lose thing sort of there, where it's like, yeah, you got to draw 4 cards. They're all lands. Leina does want to make their land drops, but they definitely also need some interaction. So she does have those 4 treasures kind of catching up on Nana, but like you said, I feel like Arya in a little bit of a better position here.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say. Like, I think before that turn, for sure. But now that Leina's managed to do the double windfall, it's like where are we now, right?
Yes. And Arya says, I will see your double unexpected windfall, and I will raise you an double unexpected windfall. And Leina now debating whether to divide by zero here as the only real piece of interaction that she has.
It's a little awkward. You don't necessarily want to use 3 treasures on a divide when it's like countering a copy. But on the other end of things, you have 4 lands in hand. You need to find more action. And are you really going to let your opponent resolve double windfall, under those circumstances?
Yeah, Teaching of the Archaics is the find here from that divide by zero through the sideboard. And looks like Leina's going to choose to start off with an expressive iteration, which take a look at the top 3. Land, Thundering Rebuke here.
Don't want any of those. I mean, Rebuke obviously fine. There are 2 copies of the air in the opposing deck, but really not what Leina was looking for on that particular turn. Now, expressive iteration is a card that is different, right? Like, usually normal decks, you do see them play expressive iteration, commonly considered to be one of the most powerful cantrips ever printed. Arya said, no, I'm not bringing expressive.
No, she said herself that she is a fan of iterations, just not going to bring any of the expressive type in this deck. 4 galvanic iterations, no expressive iterations. And yes, as expressive iteration had been sort of a cornerstone of a lot of these Izzet decks since their inception, and to see that kind of not be a role player at all in Arya's deck is very interesting. One of the more interesting things I see. I would say replaced by the Thirst for Discovery, which still takes a look at 3 cards with the cost of needing to discard at least 1.
You make a good point, and I think if you're leaning on galvanic iteration, especially if you're expecting a lot of the mirror, it does make sense, right? Like, it makes sense that you don't want to tap out on your turn. It makes sense that you want to be able to copy your card draw spells. Expressive iteration is great, but it's not as good copied as Thirst for Discovery is, and we're going to look again for Leina, again finding 2 lands and a removal spell, but Field of Ruin actually pretty relevant in this mirror match.
It sure is, as both sides have 2 copies of Hall of Storm Giants, and a good amount of basics, though, on either side, so I don't believe that will be a concern at any time. We'll see this Behold the Multiverse go top-bottom here, and Thirst for Discovery is the play.
There's that main deck Test of Talents you were talking about all the way back at the beginning of the broadcast, Nicole.
Yes, Arya is playing 1 copy Test of Talents in the main, but Leina actually has 2 copies of Test of Talents in her main deck as well. So coming well prepared for the mirror, or so she hopes, is Leina. But Arya is the first one to find a copy of that Test of Talents, and is going to foretell that Allrun's Epiphany here. Now, Arya has 2 copies of Lear, Disciple of the Drowned in her deck, like we had talked about earlier, but I wouldn't call either of these decks very threat dense.
I agree. I'm just trying to figure out how much mana Arya has. So there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 plus 3 treasures plus an untapped land. So that's going to be 13 mana. Epiphany is 6. So Arya can potentially go galvanic Epiphany. But I mean, obviously there's a lot of tapping out to do, right? Like you don't know what your opponent has. You're facing down 7 cards in their hand. You don't really want to necessarily go for it. But certainly Arya is like kind of lining up for a turn where she can fire off a bunch of these galvanic iterations and try and take a few turns in a row.
Yeah, and I will say that tapping out or tapping down even in this matchup can be very scary, as we'll see Leina kind of like at the end of Arya's turn looked at the Field of Ruin, looked at the Hall of Storm Giants and said, no, not yet, and has decided to untap, cast the Teachings of the Archaics that will be bounced to the hand by a Divide by 0 from Arya's side, who will fetch her own Teachings of the Archaics. So Leina deciding to not redeploy that there. It's just an interesting turn of events here.
So Arya, well, its Teachings is a weird one in the mirror. Weirdly, this is like not something you would think about, right? Because normally you think of aggro decks or mid-range decks as emptying their hand a lot faster than the control decks. But Teachings is weirdly better against those like creature-based matchups because you can use your Divide and your Fading Hope to bounce all the stuff back to their hand, and then you're almost guaranteed to have more. I mean, almost guaranteed that they have more cards in hand than you. But in the mirror, it's actually a really weird spot where your opponent has so many counter spells and instant speed effects that it's like they could potentially fizzle it with something while it's on the stack, and that's not what you want to see.
Yeah, and we'll see Leina drawing her first Allrun's Epiphany. She has 2 copies in the main deck she has 4 copies in the main deck while Arya has 2. Arya already having 1 copy in the Foretell zone here and a Galvanic iteration. And honestly, right now, if Arya just kind of went for it and cast a bunch of Allrun's Epiphanies, I don't know that Leina would have much to do about that.
Yeah, but you can't really blame Arya for being cautious here either, because you just don't know. Your opponent's hand could be double Test of Talents, Divide by 0, etc., etc. And it's probably like no one wants to be the one to blink first.
Yes. This is definitely a stare down, and we'll see that Field of Ruin will take care of Hall of Storm Giants on the side of Arya, and Cinderclasm withdraw for Leina here.
Not a card that Leina wants to see.
Not normally. It's fine against the Epiphany birds, I suppose, but definitely sort of more of a corner case in this matchup than a staple. I would agree with you on that.
Looking through the graveyard, trying to figure out what Arya's been through, how many copies of stuff are left. Yeah, let's get that Epiphany in the Foretell zone.
I got excited for a second there. I thought she was going to cast it. I was like, what?
Never blink first.
No, don't blink first.
Are you a Doctor Who fan, Nicole?
I am.
You are? Yeah, I was to say, don't blink.
No, never blink.
Don't.
I
haven't I've watched quite a few of the modern Doctor Who's. I haven't seen a lot. I know even though I'm British, not a huge Doctor Who fan, but the Weeping Angels, terrifying.
They are terrifying.
Absolutely terrifying. For those of you who maybe don't know what we're talking about, in Doctor Who, there's like one of the recurring, I guess, enemies. I guess they've come back a couple of times. The Weeping Angel, they're like these statues And when you're looking at them, they don't move. But if you look away or if you blink, they like come towards you and they come to get you. And it's just terrifying because it's just that horror of having to keep them in your vision at all times. And yeah, it just don't blink. The name of the first episode that it was just insane.
It's kind of like reverse red light, green light, where they'll come for you if you lose. Like you're the red light, green lighter, and
yeah, well, it is.
They'll give you nightmares.
And this is another reason we love covering the control mirrors, because it gives us so much time to talk about Doctor Who. And various, yeah, I mean,
big Matt Smith fan here, so.
Oh yeah? Okay, yes. Nicole, who would you choose? Matt Smith or Soren? Okay, maybe Arya's blinking. We'll let Nicole think on that difficult choice as we see. Galvanic iteration into galvanic iteration. Second copy. And then, oh my goodness, how many turns is this going to be? Let's find out. Third galvanic iteration.
Oh my. That's a lot of turns. That is a lot of turns.
It's a lot of turns. There is a Syndiclasm. There is no Hall of the Storm Giants.
There is a test of talents in Arya's hand, though.
There is. Well. Is Arya going to have enough mana after the Epiphany? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's going to have 4 mana remaining after the Epiphany. So here it is, Aaron's Epiphany. I would like to take 4 extra turns, please.
I would like to say I do like this patience and this play from Arya, not playing yet another galvanic iteration to copy this yet again, realizing to not need that, and also obviously realizing, like we had said earlier in the matchup, that there's going to be a lot of dead cards and like things like Cinderclasm, which is surprisingly good here, but
oh my goodness,
Arya is able to play around it with this test of talents, and also even more valuably perhaps is to take a look at Leina's hand.
That's gonna do it. Just enough mana to pay for a copy Jawari disruption there as well. And Arya, with 4 turns on the sack, is going to take down game number 1 in the Izzet mirror. You know, maybe blinking first was the right thing to do.
That was, every now and again, just realizing what what Leina had played so far, how many divide by series, like saying to herself, like, what could Leina have in her hand? What could possibly stop me from getting these birds down, taking all of the turns and, ending this here? So patience paid off on the side of Arya, where she realized exactly how much mana she needed to leave open, exactly what she needed to play around. And she did so beautifully. If you are waiting for Arya to make a mistake, I would suggest don't have a staring contest. Don't hold your breath.
Let's get you to bed, Grandma.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not happening.
So
I will say, also you have to admit, like, the mirror often just is about the draw, right? Like, when your cards are 85% the same as the other person's cards, it's often just about who draws more dead cards. And Leina, unfortunately for her, did draw a lot more dead cards in that, semi-dead cards in that matchup. Drew Fading Hopes that she didn't need, drew removal spells that she didn't need, and Arya was just able to drew those 4 lands off that windfall. And Arya was just able to chain together all of those card advantage spells to her benefit.
Yeah, and speaking of, we see both sides having a grip full of those card advantage spells. Once again, we see Arya with a copy of Unexpected Windfall and the Thirst for Discovery, as well as a galvanic iteration, and a galvanic iteration as well on the side of Leina with double Windfall here, but a Goldspan Dragon. So the threats have arrived. They are here now.
I love it.
Games 2 and 3 definitely changed drastically in these Izzet mirrors as who's going to bring in the threats, but it is still a bit of a staring game, as in who's going to deploy their threats first. So.
Well, it's not only who brings in the threats, but it's also like who keeps their removal, right? Like it's a gamble. You have to decide. Okay, is my opponent going to take the risk of bringing in Goldspan Dragon when it trades down in mana against Disdainful Stroke and it trades down in mana against Divide by Zero. But, like, you know, is that risk enough for me to keep in my Thundering Rebukes, my Demon Bolts, etc.? So I love it. And Leina deciding to zig, shall we say, towards bringing the dragons in. And as we see, the first unexpected windfall get delayed once again by Divide by Zero.
Yes, and there is a mascot exhibition. So Arya now tapped out, though.
It's dragon time.
There it is, Goldspan Dragon. I don't know what to call it, like the bane of standard or the celebration of standard or the definition of standard. I feel like so since it's been introduced.
Arya does have a Demon Bolt in hand, so Arya keeping at least some of these 4 damage spells post board.
Yes.
Do you just go for it? I guess you just have to go for it now.
Yeah, I think just deploying right now, Leina like tapped out and would have to use most likely both treasures in order to protect the Goldspan Dragon. Obviously, we know that Leina does not have anything in hand at the moment.
Could fire off an unexpected windfall, because that does produce another 2 treasures. Decides to just let the dragon go this time. And Arya is tapped down pretty low, only 2 mana up. And Leina gets to untap and potentially get the first, you know, really big bit of card advantage going with Iteration Windfall.
Yes. So it looks like land is coming down, and that is exactly what Leina is going to do here. Looks good to me. An iteration and a windfall. Going to make a bunch of treasures, draw a bunch of cards. Still with 2 mana up, I can understand the hesitation. There are definitely cards in Arya's deck that could punish Leina right now, but having a second copy of Windfall in hand, I feel like it's kind of you have to go for it. You're staring down. Arya has 6 cards in hand to your 3, and you have to discard one of them to this.
You've got to be so scared of Test of Talents, right? But,
petrified.
but, you know, I think Leina, just fortune favors the brave, is just so correct to go for it here. Nothing else really going on other than that other copy of Windfall. And if it works, like if she doesn't have the test, it's just, you know, everything's rosy. And Leina now with a massive advantage, 6 treasures on the battlefield. Arya gets to try and do the same thing, you know, Uno reverse, get that, get the iteration windfall of her own. But at least one of these can potentially be countered by the Jawari Disruption.
Yeah.
Oh my god, can both be countered?
Both can be countered.
Holy
as,
holy moly.
If Leina decides to use her iteration in this way,
I think snap it off.
Big deal.
Just, you have to let the copy happen, right? So now oh my goodness, Galvanic Iteration, double Jawari Disruption, double the fun for Spike fans out there. Counterspell community just in uproar.
Yeah,
get to counter both of these windfalls. And now Arya's tapped out. Leina gets to untap, has an expressive iteration ready to go, has another windfall ready to go. And we'll see what she can find off of these spells.
Yeah. And wanting to start with the expressive iteration, which I like here, because depending on what you find off of it, if you find another unexpected windfall, maybe you want to cast that instead of the one that you already have in your hand. And it looks like another iteration will be found, but gonna go with the unexpected windfall here anyway.
It's pretty interesting, these matchups. Like, when someone does blink, then it just sets up like a flurry of blinking. Right?
It's like both players having like 7 cards in their hand and cards in their graveyard and foretell, and now we're looking and they both have 3 cards. It's just like, what happened?
Oh my goodness. Leina needs to catch a break with these draws. Just land after land off the top. Arya gets to untap, has an iteration, Thirst for Discovery primed, has Test of Talent still. Now, here we go. This is a bit better.
Yeah,
This is what we want to
cards,
see.
much better look here at the top 3. And it'll be interesting here, though, to see what's going to go in hand, what's going to go into exile. Like, I'd imagine the land has to go back into the library with 4 lands in hand, 3 of them untapped lands, having access to all the colors. So what do you want Arya to know about here?
This is pretty interesting, using iteration. I mean, putting iteration in hand, and then, I mean, potentially Leina could just copy the Behold this turn. That does tap her pretty low, right? She has to use some treasures to do it. Oh no, I guess she has a land drop to make. So, wait, she let the Behold go?
Oh, she let the Behold go. I guess.
Okay, interesting. So Leina says, okay, I'm going to let Behold go. I'll make my land drop. Arya in the end step is going to be careful about Jawari Disruption this time. Just a single Thirst for Discovery. Now has Leah available.
And also has being able to fire up Hall of Storm Giants as well. Leina does have a Fading Hope. Maybe that's what Leina had been worried about, tapping too low from a Behold the Mold and not being able to handle a Hall of the Storm Giants attack.
Could definitely see that being a consideration. And now Arya gets to put another Demon Bolt in for Tal. It has the benefit of also looking like an Epiphany.
It does.
Yeah.
You see, Leina playing her own Hall of Storm Giants. Now, Arya does not have any copies of Field of Ruin in the main deck, but oh my goodness.
Is it time? Is it finally time? Nicole, please.
Between Zabracus, like, having 2 in her opening hand in that top 4 matchup and not playing either of them. And
that was so upsetting.
It was very upsetting. But here
it's time! Heartbreak Horror on the stack cannot counter this one. It can point a Fading Hope at it. Yeah, that's okay. That's fine. It's just very briefly we were blessed with the presence of the Great One. The thing in the ice. But Leina is just gonna delay that for a turn, and oh my goodness, Leina, please draw some card draw spells. I beg of thee. And here we go. Part 2.
Now, I guess a Galvanic iteration, copying Demon Bolt here.
Okay.
To try to kill the Hullbreaker Horror.
Okay.
But will Arya let this happen? Having a Test of Talents in hand.
Well, the thing is, if you test, you just return the Hullbreaker Horror. Like, you don't need the test to resolve, right? You just use the trigger to return it to hand. So like it just doesn't wait. Okay. That's not gonna do it. Right, so Arya instead of because she should have, if she returned the 7/8 to hand, there was nothing Leina could have done about that. But now Leina gets to
it's the copy. She made sure to target the copy, so the copy wouldn't go back to hand.
I see.
It would just kind of fizzle into nothingness.
Got it. Okay, so everything's fine for Monsieur Lipinchi. Don't. And okay, so good. A copy of Demon Bolt is gone.
Yes.
Hullbreaker Horror now the undoubted, major presence on this battlefield.
King of the battlefield.
And there it is, Leia, Disciple of the Drowned. Leina really seeing the bad news because there are so many spells in the graveyard for Arya. The combination of Leia plus Hullbreaker Horror just means that it's unlikely for Leina to really resolve very many spells in the near future. And that is going to do it after a marathon game 1 and, you know, at least a middle distance game 2. We are going to see Arya take it down 2-0 in the Izzet Epiphany Mirror, and it is going to be Arya joining Zabracus in the grand finals. 3rd finals for Arya in
That's
the VML.
so impressive. And I mean, undefeated in the finals is the other thing too.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. It is going to be a doozy. Arya, there you see it. The grand finals, we are going to be setting that one up in just a minute. Arya up against Zabracus. It's the final that everybody's been waiting for. And Nicole and I are going to take a very short break. When we come back, we'll be talking about the finals. We'll be crowning a champion, so don't go anywhere. Hello, my friends. Welcome back for the final time to the VML Season 6. If you have stuck with us tonight, if you have just joined us, welcome. Thank you for sticking here, watching all of this awesome magic. We are about to go into the grand finals of Season 6 of the VML. One of these two players is going to the next set championships based on this next match of magic. Nicole, I could not be more excited.
it has been an incredible night of magic. I cannot wait to see both of these players face off. They have both impressed us throughout the season, and now tonight throughout the playoffs, we've had the pleasure of watching both of them play. We've seen Arya, we've seen her whole journey through the top 8 as we watched her top 8 match against Ailsa and the Temur Treasures deck, and then just winning over Leina in the Izzet Epiphany Mirror. So, and we got to see Zabracus also playing against Epiphany earlier, and being able to edge out over Julie Izzette in the top 4. It will be very exciting to see both of these players, what they have to offer. And I, you know, we're sending somebody to the set championship.
It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be great.
There's so much on the line. There's
we can't
cash
like
prizes.
There's cash prizes and there's the all-important InklinCustoms token. And I can now tell you, Nicole, that we are going to have our first grand reveal of the token of last season's winner. So Doria Long, who was the winner of VML Season 5, we are going to get to see her token for the first time. And there it is in all its glory. It's a Thopter, and isn't it the cutest thing? Oh my god, I love it.
It's a kitty.
I love it so much. I mean, Inkling is just the best.
I love everything about this. It is the sweetest. Like, I've decided I need Thopter tokens. What do I need to play? Hangerback Walker, right? So I'm going to start playing Hangerback Walker.
What year is this?
Thopter Foundry? Like, I don't know. I love it. I love the cat, the nonchalant.
Just incredible.
Yeah,
Just
well,
incredible.
no, here's the thing. Thopters are great, but where's my slivers? Come on.
Oh my god, Phoebe. Get back to the... Okay, let's just...
Wait.
I'm glad we let Phoebe on just to immediately get cancelled.
What sliver makes Thopters?
Oh my goodness. That sounds like one of those playtest cards, Nicole. Like Sliver Thopter Foundry or something. Sliver Bag Walker.
I would give body parts to get my hands on that Sliv Mizzet test card.
We are about to... So after this, we are going to be watching the grand finals between Arya and Zabracus. But I just want to enjoy this token for a little while longer because... that cat is just so cute. I can't get over it. I can't get over it.
It's like actually perfect.
It's just
Like,
perfect.
I like the nonchalant flying through the air, and the cat's just like, yeah, I'm taking a bath.
And our winner every season does get to work super closely, of course, with Inklin, and we are extremely happy to commission that every season from her because she's the best. And I actually got to meet her at MTG Vegas, Nicole. I can confirm she is also the best IRL. Which is great.
She is fabulous, and we love to support other people of marginalized genders within the Magic community and our local artists. So it's a wonderful thing.
It is a wonderful thing. And what else is going to be a wonderful thing? It's going to be the gameplay in our grand finals. Let's remind ourselves of the players who have made it here. On the one side, in the red corner, it is Zabracus. Zabracus, you know, fighting her way through Division 2, ended up here with Dimir control in the top 8. We saw her, she defeated, I believe it was Mel Woods in the quarterfinals. We watched her live take down the Izzet Epiphany matchup against Julie, and is here back facing the same Izzet Epiphany matchup again. Do you think her experience playing that first match is going to have given her confidence going into this finals, Nicole?
I think it will have. I think that was a very important, well, obviously it was an important match for her to win, but I think it was more that the matchup was a very important thing for her to win. Like, it felt different than she had played against Mel Woods in the top 8 against a mono white deck, and the Meat Hook Massacre, you know, in Infernal Grass sort of like Soul Shatter deck is definitely very well equipped to deal with mono white Path of Peril and things like that. So being able to face off against a very proficient Izzet player as well in Julie Izzette, and being able to take down that matchup, it definitely helped boost her confidence, I'm sure. And kind of just, you know, it's almost like, not that it was a warm-up, but it felt like, okay, like this is what I'm going to have to do to win. And you know, kind of like, you know, laying out what her expectations, how this matchup is going to play out. I'm sure she's tested it a bunch, but I think she's ready.
But it's different, right? It's different testing it versus playing it on the day and just getting that win under your belt against a very similar list, we have to say, between Julie and Arya, who I believe did work together before the top 8 coming into this. So, like, I've looked at Arya's and Julie's list, so they are very similar. There's like a tiny bit of difference between the two of them. Let's remind ourselves, of course, of Arya, 2-time VML champion, playing in her 3rd season, looking to win it all once again in the grand finals. Izzet Epiphany, the weapon of choice for Arya, as it has been for so many weeks this season? And like, what more can we really add about Arya that we haven't said?
Arya said in her interview earlier too, she goes, I believe Izzet to be the best deck. And when you are just such an exceptional Magic player, picking up the best deck is never the wrong way to go. You know, so like when you're really good, you can pick up the best deck and just win. And that's what Arya does. But she does more than just pick up the best deck. And when she picks it up, she tests it, she tunes it, she fine tunes it, you know, goes through, decides, you know, there's a reason that she has three Jawari disruptions. There's a reason she's playing 2 Cinderclasms, not 1, not 3. You know, there is a reason to her playing 3 Fading Hopes. Like, she has gone through this list and cultivated it throughout the entire season. So this is something that she has worked towards and worked for. And besides being an exceptional player, she works extremely hard and deserves to be where she is.
We will just quickly check in with our producer to see whether the players are ready to go. We just need a little bit of, okay, I think it's just going to be a couple of seconds while the players get ready, get that challenge, you know, up in the client. Let's have a look. Let's go down to the action. Arya was the 5th seed. Zabracus the 11th seed, so Arya will get to choose play or draw. We're going to be watching it from the point of view of Arya. Here we are. It's grand finals time. Keeping this hand, Jawari Disruption, land, double Fading Hope, double Behold, and Aaron's Epiphany.
Now, interestingly enough, like starting out with the Jawari runes, just because needing to play the tap land first, if Fading Hope only allows you to scry if the mana value is 3 or less. So Arya probably not going to Fading Hope anything for some time here, as Zabracus doesn't have any creatures that are costed less than 3. So it'll just be a land and foretelling Behold the Multiverse here, as passing the turn back to Zabracus.
So we see Zabracus make quite a crucial decision there, which is to put Behold in the Foretell zone, and doing so taps her out because she would otherwise have had that wash away to counter this Behold from Arya, and that is going to draw 2 lands, the land drops that Arya was looking for, off the Behold.
Yes, so one of the tricky things of these Izzet Epiphany decks is that Allrun's Epiphany that we just got foretold? Was it a Demon Bolt? Was it, and this time it just ended up being a Behold the Multiverse, which Arya is playing 4 copies of, more than Allrun's Epiphany and Demon Bolt combined.
Graveyard Trespasser comes down right on time for Zabracus on turn 3. This card is absolutely bonkers. We've spoken about it before, and just as we say that, Arya just rips the Demon Bolt off the top like nobody's business.
Right, a timely Graveyard Trespasser, but an even more timely Demon Bolt to take care of it. Arya thinking about the timing, and looks like going to be patient here and just foretelling the Behold the Multiverse, perhaps thinking about drawing out any sort of wash away in Zabracus's hand. Although I'm sure
it
Arya
makes sense, right? Because the Graveyard Trespasser, by its name, right, is there to destroy your graveyard. Right? And when you don't have anything yet in the graveyard, it's possible you can take a little bit more time to deal with it.
Yes, and Zabracus is going to allow this Behold the Multiverse to resolve unscathed here. Unexpected Windfall, Hall of Storm Giants going to be the draws, and looks like Arya looking to go to discard, but Test of Talents on that Behold the Multiverse on Zabracus' side. It's not quite as hidden when Zabracus foretells a card as Behold the Multiverse.
Yeah, there are not as many things it can be, right?
So,
like, it's not Allrun's Epiphany. It's not Demon Bolt. Those cards aren't in the deck.
Open deck lists. So.
Test of Talents actually gets some very key information here for Arya. Now she knows about the wash away, knows about the Vanishing Verse, and is thinking about how to deal with this Graveyard Trespasser. It's going to take another hit from it here. Test of Talents is going to go away. Doesn't matter quite as much since you can't counter things with Leer out anyway.
Allowing that drain to happen and going to pass back. Going to see about Fading Hope on it. The question is, what will be discarded here?
Yeah, discard the other Fade here. That's not doing very much. This is quite an this is pretty interesting play here from Arya, because she's saying, I have a divide, right? I can fight this on the stack when it comes down.
Right.
And your wash away, if you want to spend 3 mana countering my Fading Hope, by all means.
Right, please.
Tap out on your please. I would love to do that.
Thirst for Discovery. Not that good when you don't have any basic lands in your hand, or lands in your hand at all. So we'll see a foretell of the Allrun's Epiphany. Going to just leave up either a Demon Bolt or, like you said, the divide by 0 here.
Knows about that wash away. There's the crucial 6th land, untapped land for Zabracus, to be able to have wash away to protect the Graveyard Trespasser. But it's actually going to just let this divide resolve.
Well, this is a scary part. Zabracus not really wanting to tap out with that Allrun's Epiphany. Well, Zabracus not knowing that it's an All-Rose Epiphany, but knowing that there's a card in Foretell right now, and Arya is at 5 lands. So that could be Arya starting to run away with the game if Zabracus were to tap out to protect that Graveyard Trespasser. And it's only going back to hand. It's not the end of the world. So
both players just kind of having been, shall we say, held back from their initial game plans. Arya desperately looking for lands. Right, the deck is incredibly mana hungry. We saw that with Julie in the semifinal. We saw that with Leina. Does find a land. It is a tap land, but a tap land is it's just something, right? That's at least a land.
for sure. Arya definitely wanting another red source here so that she will be able to iteration and windfall and copy the windfall and get a bunch of treasures and cards and really get that train rolling, and can't do that quite yet. But like we had said earlier, being able to leave open that 3 mana now, if she wants to Demon Bolt is an option. Graveyard Trespasser coming back down, eating away at that graveyard a bit.
Have to say, of the two players, Zabracus definitely has brought the more pimped out deck. The dedication to the full arts, the D&D manual lands, the beautiful Enchanted Evening Semifinals sleeves. If Caroline were here, she would be definitely on this. It's funny, when we're on stream together, we're basically just like rating people's pimped outness.
Like the sleeves too. I mean, I see Arya no sleeves here. So Zabracus has fancy sleeves.
Arya no sleeves. That's what they call her. Arya no sleeves.
Arya no sleeves. And we'll see Arya finally getting to what she had wanted to do, and that is cast the Galvanic Iteration, copying that Unexpected Windfall and that Wash Away, unable to do anything about it. Drawing a Spikefield Hazard, Behold the Multiverse, Mountain, and a Divide by 0.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's interesting, right? Zabracus could have washed away the copy, but at that point, like, is that worth it? Like, your wash away is there's a card in Foretell, like it's so hard to really like use your one precious counterspell in that position.
Yeah, and now it looks like Zabracus has another choice to make with the 4 mana open, having the Graveyard Trespasser bounce back to hand, and will she redeploy? And it looks like the answer is no, just going to pass the turn back, and Arya now drawing a land for turn.
It's time. Let's go.
Yeah, let's see it. Iteration.
I mean, if it was Zabracus here, you could potentially just counter this.
And it looks like she will.
Okay, I mean, I don't hate it, right? You counter the copy, and yeah, sure, Arya gets an extra turn, but it's only 1 turn, it's only 2 birds.
I mean, Zabracus is aware of the mascot exhibition in Arya's hand as well.
That's a good point.
Knowing that kind of gums up the battlefield, especially Zabracus, one of Zabracus's best threats that she still has right now is the Graveyard Trespasser that has bounced on and off the battlefield about 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, just acting like my cat in a door frame. Are you in? Are you out? You
I like
shaking it
that
all
picture.
about? The birds are going to come in. We're going to see a mascot exhibition here, I think. And Arya now with the battlefield. Now, we do see, right, Zap has got a pretty key card in hand when facing down this many creatures on the other side.
Yes. Meathook Massacre is a clutch card in a position like this, but going to Siphon Insight and take a look at what Arya's deck has to offer and stealing one of those.
Oh, it was Unexpected Windfall. Wow. And here it is.
And also a Hullbreaker Horror for turn.
X equals 4. Get all of these creatures out of here. Gain a bunch of life. Arya
Most notably, that
those are no good. Oh, and it's just a land and galvanic iteration. So we're gonna see plan D, plan E. But it's like, it's time to get smashing.
Yeah, Hall of Storm Giants is nothing to sneeze at once the Izzet deck gets there, but it usually is one of the last resorts or the way to cross the finish line. So Graveyard Trespass are gonna go at it again.
This game has been really fascinating. You know, Zabracus got out early with that Graveyard Trespasser. There was a big fight in the mid game over it. Arya ultimately managing to send it back to hand for quite a long time. And now Arya kind of just running on air, like not really with a lot to work with. Really needs to find something here. Stormcloak Coast, not the something that she was looking for. Does have more attacks with the Hall.
Yes. So, I mean, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Hall seems to be connecting, so is going to keep at it.
Let's get that fired up. I mean, it's a good plan, right? Like, at some point, Zabracus is going to have to block with that 3/3.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad plan. And with Ward 3, it's something that needs to be, you know, dealt with while Zabracus has the means to deal with it. Like, cannot Vanishing Verse it right now because we'll be unable to pay for the Ward 3.
Actually decides to ditch the Vanishing Verse to Windfall, and that is going to get disrupted immediately.
Ooh.
But we know, of course, Zabracus still has Sorin, still has Hullbreaker Horror, still has Wash Away in hand. Hullbreaker Horror, very key stat line, is a 7/8. Which, for those of you who are, you know, mathematically gifted, you can tell that's one more toughness than Hall of the Storm Giants has power.
Well, this was a good draw on the side of Arya here. The Galvanic Iteration into the Thirst for Discovery. It depends on whether Zabracus is going to choose to wash away on the iteration, and it looks like that will be the case once again.
Wash Away on iteration is kind of interesting because the iteration is only going to the graveyard, right? Well, Wash Away doesn't have like a syncopate effect. So Arya could just, you know, could do it now, could iterate again now, could just do what she's doing, getting aggressive. Aggressive Arya is, I'm told on good authority, one of her nicknames. And here we go. That Vanishing Verse still unable to get through the Ward 3 as well.
And I will say, on Zabracus' side, Graveyard Glutton finally, you know, gonna body up and block. And that's not where you want your Graveyard Glutton to be. You know, your Graveyard Glutton's supposed to be attacking and draining and doing damage. And the only damage it did there was the loss of life from Meathook Massacre.
And let's go looking though at the top of Arya's library again. Can I just say, I've been super impressed with with Siphon Insight. It's not, you don't want a ton of them, right? Like, you don't want a bunch of copies, but just 1 or 2 copies, it's like such a scam that it's so great. I love it so much.
I think it's such a fun Magic card. I've actually never.
I like how like Nicole's like so positive, so lovely. She's like, I think it's such a fun Magic card. I'm like, no, it's a scam.
See, I'm from the belief now, and don't take this because I actually think like Zabracus deck is phenomenal, and she's a phenomenal player. But like my motto for things like that was like, I'm gonna play all bad cards, so I'll just steal my opponent's good cards, and that's how I'm gonna. You know, that's like my attitude towards cards like that. But she's actually playing it like in a good deck, so I can't say that that's been my personal experience with Siphon Insight. It's been more of a, you know, me kind of card. But I really, really like how it's been working and how it works out in this Izzet matchup, actually.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
We've seen it do a lot of good work in both the top 4 and now. Stealing both in
sure.
and Izzet.
Zabracus, by the way, has an Inferno Grasp. Hullbreaker Horror on the stack. There is a divide by 0 for Arya. This is the time you have to do it if you're going to. Let's get the first four though. Start with the Windfall. Oh, Fading Hope is also not awful here. And Arya can say, well, you know, I don't need to commit a bunch of mana now. I can just Fading Hope this, and we'll talk again next turn.
Right? And now being prepared for it with the divide by 0 and among other things.
Right. So there's some world in which Arya fires up the hole, gets in for 7, and double spike fields Zabracus to death.
I
With
think
the
there is a
iteration?
world where that might happen.
It may even happen this turn. Although we of course know now that Zabracus has the Vanishing Burst and the Infernal Grasp, so double removal spell. Can't pay Ward 3 necessarily for both of them, but can at least pay Ward 3 for one.
Yes. Or, I mean, you know, I like the option of Field of Ruin before it was animated was a choice as well.
I guess you kind of had to do that because Arya could animate in response, right? So you kind of had to do that in a previous turn. So let the Ward 3 resolve, presumably. Now, divide. Is this it? Is this it for game number 1?
Wait.
Divide on the Vanishing Burst. Zabracus does not have the mana to cast another removal spell. So it's going to be Hole of the Storm Giants hitting the face for 7 damage. Zabracus at 2. All Arya has to do, and you know she sees it, Galvanic Iteration into Spikefield Hazard. And we are going to see game 1. I'm just checking. I just need to check. I just need to make sure there's no random way of gaining life for Zabracus. That is 2 damage to the face, and game 1 goes down to Arya with Izzet Epiphany against Dimir Control. Wow.
That was incredible. Like I said earlier, if you're waiting for Arya to make a mistake, you're gonna have to keep waiting. You're gonna be here a while. So, you know,
you have to also give props to Zabracus. I think Zabracus identified where the breakpoints were in that game, identified the importance of Graveyard Trespasser very early on. And for the Zabracus fans in the chat, it's not over. She can pull the reverse sweep here with the help of her sideboard. Let's have a look at what's going on there. 3 Malevolent Hermit, 3 Suspicious Stowaway, 2 Test of Talent, 2 Go Blank, and 1 Leia, all waiting to help Zabracus out in game number 2. So, you know, I am like kind of excited about these 2 drops that are in the sideboard, Nicole, for Zabracus.
No, we've seen Malevolent Hermit do a lot of work earlier in the Izzet matchup, as well as Suspicious Stowaway. You know, being able to get card advantage over on an Izzet deck is a feat in itself. So with cards like Suspicious Stowaway, and honestly, like Malevolent Hermit being able to do a little bit of beatdown and a little bit of counterspelling, it's a pretty good package that she has there.
So, opening hand here for Arya if Arya wins this one, that's it. We're done here. Arya is the champion once again. But if Zabracus wins, we're going to have to see a game number 3. Arya opening up this crucial game with Egg, with Test of Talents, with Thundering Rebuke, with Leia, finding a Windfall and another Egg. What does Zab have going on? Fading Hope, Go Blank. Oh, and there's Siphon Insight. Love it.
Siphon Insight. I love Siphon Insight MVP. I love that card.
It's been so sweet for Zabracus all throughout the top 8 here.
No, I absolutely agree. I think that it is like the deck that she's playing is the perfect shell for it, where she has a good amount of a removal and a good amount of interaction, but I like that, like take their game plan and shove it back in their face. I'm going to take your Lear and then I'm going to recast my spells,
Yeah,
So,
I love
big
it.
fan.
I love it. And Zabracus taking a windfall, a very nice take off the insight. That's gonna do some work towards helping Zabracus refill the hand and get the mana set up as we move into the mid game. Arya has the Test of Talents at the ready. It's not gonna be so hot when using it against a spell that you own.
But like I said earlier, half of the good thing about Test of Talents is being able to take a look at Zabracus's hand here, get a couple counters on those eggs. So there's a lot of other good things happening. You can even look through the library and see how Zabracus sideboarded in preparation for this match. So to get an idea, a lot of information here. And we'll see a quick look through on the hand and now going to scroll through the library and get that information and see those hermits came in, see that the stowaways came in. No big surprises, I don't think, on Zabracus' side, but just to kind of how many Meathook Massacres are still on the deck. Yeah, things like that. The knowledge is power here. That is for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Here's Sedgemoor Witch. Speaking of power, we do see Arya with the Thundering Rebuke in hand. She knows as well as we do that Zabracus has the Fading Hope. Can do some protection duty. There's a couple of copies of Leia. Might be good a bit later on, although, when you know your opponent has a Go Blank in hand, Leia doesn't look quite as attractive as you might normally do.
That is definitely the truth. And going to discard the land to the Unexpected Windfall, put a few more counters on these eggs, get them right about ready to hatch. And
yeah, the baby dragon's just knocking on the door. Okay, here it is. 6 counters. Thundering Rebuke is going to be the last couple of counters if Zabracus wants to save this witch from the battlefield. She's going to have to give up bouncing one of the dragons. Decides to give it up. Fading Hope on one of the eggs. Away goes the Sedgemoor Witch. And now Arya with the Ashmouth Dragon. And you have to imagine that if she can untap with it, she's going to be in a great position in this game too.
Yes, this is definitely a dominating position on Arya's side of being able to... Ooh.
What a draw.
Wow.
Why not?
Yeah.
Just Vanishing West. Get that dragon out of here. And Zab fights on top of her deck, treating her very well. Here comes Leia down on the battlefield. Only one mana to... What, is that another Vanishing
Another Vanishing Burst.
Holy
moly. Real.
Get out. Get out, Leia. We don't want you.
No, apparently not. So Lear take 2 on Arya's side.
Yeah, part 3. Let's go. And you know what? If Zabracus finds another Vanishing Burst, Test of Talents doesn't do anything, right? With Lear on the battlefield.
Right. It just eats the copies that would be in the deck. So, if they want to do a Go Blank and Arya Test of Talents to get the rest of the Go Blanks out, and then Zabracus can Test of Talents to get the rest of the Test of Talents out of Arya's deck. But it's a very convoluted little... It won't actually stop any of the spells on the stack.
So let's see what Go Blank could do here. Arya has a discard 2, presumably. Okay, it is going to be Test. You may as well use that, right? It's going away anyway.
Right.
There's no real downside. I mean, yeah, sure, they could test your Go Blank back, but then they don't have the test for other things.
Yes, there are only 2 copies in Zabracus's list. So they were both in the sideboard, both came in for this matchup, and it looks like Smoldering Egg and Divide by 0 are going to eat it, but Unexpected Windfall staying in.
Always. Never discard Windfall. Never let go of
Never.
Windfall. For this exact reason, you're going to draw a land the next turn. Oh my goodness, but that test of talents that Zabracus has is going to just straight up... Oh, wait, no. That's fine.
No, it'll eat the rest of the unexpected windfalls in the deck.
Honestly, I'm so bad at remembering Leah that I should just... I'm just honest. It's so shocking. So many times I've emotionally brought people to a place that it was not appropriate.
Well, now the funny thing here is that the card that Zabracus took from Arya was an unexpected windfall. So
Okay.
Arya's like, wait, like what happened to my unexpected windfalls? Like you didn't take them all? Like I don't understand.
It's kind of
hard.
signaling, right?
Yeah.
You kind of can tell. Here's a consider for Zabracus. And this game is in such a weird spot. Because normally, if there's a Leah on the battlefield, normally for the Izzet player, you're like, it's done. You know, unchallenged Leah. But thanks to that go blank, there just is not a lot of stuff happening for Arya in the graveyard. And although, unfortunately for Zabracus, finding a couple of lands off the windfall is not what she wanted either. Arya is going to untap. We're going to see her play out the Smoldering Egg, keep getting in with this Leah, and Zabracus needs a big draw now to deal with this.
Like it's almost Meat Hook Massacre or bust at this point because Smoldering Egg, Unexpected Windfall can also cast the Behold the Multiverse for 4 if it's worth it just to flip the Smoldering Egg here. And or Thirst for Discovery does it as well. So this is a lot of pressure. This is lethal in 2 turns. Actually, it would be lethal, next turn with any triggers from the Ashmouth Dragon and the Hall of Storm Giants. Pick your poison here. So
second Hall of Storm Giants as well. Yeah, Zabracus needs to deal with so much now on the other side of the battlefield. Step 1, got a Field of Ruin, one of those halls, I think. Oh, wait.
Oh.
What about Pinchy? Does Pinchy do anything here?
It blocks. It depends on what Arya chooses to do here. Like I said, pick your poison. Is Arya going to activate the hall, or is she going to even bother risking it with the Field of Ruin up and everything? I think the answer is no. So
yeah, exactly. And here it is, Hullbreaker Horror trying to help Zabracus in the late stages of this game, but Arya has access to plenty of burn. Demon Bolt is going to be 4 damage. Trigger from the dragon is actually going to go to face. Demon Bolt can be cast again from the graveyard. That's another trigger from the Ashmouth Dragon. Zabracus is down to 10.
And I see some Cinderclasms. And
Zabracus down to 3. Yeah, why not? Use that Cinderclasm. That is going to do it. Ashmouth Dragon is carrying Arya to a 3rd VML title here in season number 6. You see the good games from Zabracus. What an incredible competitor. Incredible job to get here to the finals. But it is Arya who is going to be the champion of season 6. Nicole. Whew.
Unbelievable, unbeatable. You can't say enough about Arya Karamchandani as a competitor and a Magic player. Good games, of course, to Zabracus, who has had some fantastic showings in the past seasons of the VML, and making it all the way to the finals this season is no small feat. But in the interest of competitive integrity, I think we should ban Arya from. Arya needs a nerf. So
yeah, hello R&D. What's going on? Can we get some action taken, please? Oh my goodness. I mean, just all three matches that we did see Arya play tonight, that first match, the quarterfinals against Ailsa, against that Temur deck, winning in the last possible turn with that Fading Hope to attack for lethal, and then in the semifinals, beating Leina in the Izzet mirror, not an easy matchup to play for sure. And then finally going up against Zabracus, who herself had been playing some incredible Magic, not only tonight, but all season. We saw her last week in the feature match area, just absolutely, with an incredible gameplay, incredible strategy to make it here to the top 8, and all the way making it to the grand finals. Wow.
No, absolutely. An absolute incredible showing. And yeah.
We're gonna try and get Arya in for an interview. Just so great job to both competitors. And for Zabracus fans, don't worry, there's always season 7.
Yes.
There's always more Magic to be played here at the VML. And for people who maybe joining us for the first time, we're experiencing the VML for the first time. We've been going for about 18 months, maybe nearly 2 years now, I would say. Oh, it really is almost 2 years.
It's been
Wow.
2, yeah, wow.
Oh my goodness.
It'll be 2 years in February?
Yeah, probably. And we are going strong. Our relationship with our sponsors is great. We are looking to become bigger and better in 2022. We have plans for season 7 already rolling. They are, the proposals for that are in the books. We are excited to get going with season 7 in the second
Year
quarter.
2, year 3, I guess.
See, oh my goodness, in the second quarter, and we have a lot of awesome projects coming up as well. So let's get Arya in here. If
Arya
we
broke
can.
me. So
we just need to get back to our awesome overlay with the 3 people. We'll have Arya on. She looks pretty dazzling. I can tell you that now. A bit of a spoiler. You may be able to hear her disembodied voice already.
I will say she broke me and she is broken. So good. There is no one better. I can't. Can I just actually put out real quick that we had a VML production meeting and Arya was just like, I don't think I can cast on Friday. And we're like, no, you can't. You're playing. But she somehow managed to get into the booth anyway.
She did. Let's just. Oh, here we go. Arya, congratulations!
Thank you.
3-time VML champion. How does it feel?
It feels good. Now I've won more times than Caroline, and really that's what's important.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Hello, 911. I'd like to report a murder. Yeah, and still with the crown, I see, from last time.
Yeah, I kept it around in case, there was any reason for it again. Just in case.
We love a prepared queen. I love to see that. And so Arya, tell us about your top 8. That first quarterfinal against Ailsa. What a nail biter that was.
Wow.
Yeah, that was one of the most intense games of Magic I've played in my life. And not most intense in the VML or most intense in this standard, just one of the most intense ever. I was just sweating for the last 6 turns, hoping she couldn't kill me.
And then making it through to the semifinals in that mirror. What were your thoughts going into the mirror match with Leina?
I was pretty happy. When Chris built this deck, he built the deck for the mirror. There's my deck had 7 instant speed card draw spells to hurt 2. And that instant speed card draw is really important to hit your land drops, but not leave you vulnerable to windfall. And then on top of that, it was on the play, and being on the play is just huge in the Izzet mirror. So I was fairly confident about my chances going in. I think the match I was most scared for was the quarterfinals.
Yeah, and how about the finals? Zabracus, what an incredible competitor, beating out Julie in the semifinals as well with Dimir control.
Yeah, I was I felt pretty prepared because I spent a lot of time testing with Julie. So I'd played, I think, more matches with and against Zabracus's deck than like any of the other decks in the top 8. But yeah, I think she had like an unexpected sideboarding strategy against Julie. And so it definitely benefited from being able to watch the earlier matches in the top 8. So I knew how she'd likely be sideboarding against me. And we had like a plan ready for if she didn't have much removal. And the plan was to board an eggs to tax her removal with Lier. And it worked. So.
Yeah. So
It certainly did.
it definitely did. Nicole, do you have any answers for any questions for our 3-time champion? I'm honestly losing it. All right, it's been a long broadcast.
I actually do. I need to know what song you were listening to.
Oh.
Because when we talked, we had our interview, and Arya said that she listens to like one song, depending on like mood and how she's feeling, on loop over. Like, was it the same song also for, you know, quarters, semis, finals, or were we different songs? I need to know.
So quarters and semis were the same song, which is the score from Ping Pong the animation, which I've had stuck in my head recently. But the finals is a tradition. I have a tradition for a song I listen to in the finals of the VML, and it's.
Can I just say that it's shocking that you've been in the finals of the VML enough times to have a tradition?
Yeah, the song I always listen to in the finals is JJ's theme from Yuri on Ice.
Oh my god. Okay.
I'm glad I asked.
Because I am a big fan of Yuri on Ice. For those of you who don't know, Yuri on Ice is an anime about ice skating, and it's great, and I love it so much. And also the Winter Olympics are coming up, and I'm super excited. Anyway, that's an aside. JJ's theme, JJ is like the Canadian skater from Yuri on Ice, and he's just like he's just like supremely self-confident.
Yeah, he's the worst.
He's the worst. He's just like, yeah, I'm JJ. I'm great.
But he does have a catchy theme.
He does have a catchy theme song. You can't dispute that.
So
oh my goodness,
is great.
Okay, well, Arya, you know, thank you so much for joining us. You've had a long evening, I'm sure, so we will let you go. Thank you so much to all of our viewers for joining us throughout this special broadcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you to all of our top 4 competitors for playing live, to Zabracus, to Julie, to Leina, and of course the top 8 as well. And Nicole, who else should we thank? I guess we should thank each other.
Yes, you did a phenomenal job. Thank you to our partner, our third musketeer, Beky, who had to bow out a little earlier tonight. She did a phenomenal job. And thank you very much, Haiyue. You are a phenomenal caster and a pleasure to work with. And also, I want you all to know, Haiyue and Caroline are the VML co-chairs. They work their behinds off behind the scenes. So make sure, got to give them their credit where credit is due. They make all of this magic happen, and the VML would not be without them. So a big thank you and a huge shout out to them. And then
I mean, obviously, like, it's our pleasure to do it. We believe in this project. We are going to do great things in 2022, and we will see all of you there for them next time on the VML. Have a great night.